means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw. Holy shit.
What year is it? Damn.
Oh, what's up?
The time is just flying by, and there's not enough hours in the day to do what we need to get done with this whole, what the hell's it called again?
DEFCON 1?
Oh, that'd be it.
Yeah, or do you mean the season 3 premiere of Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with me, your host, George C. Romero, and my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's been a pretty big week, couple weeks off of planning. And, it's funny, like it doesn't even feel like we had a break between seasons because we've been going on online and going on the air and doing the fucking thing, huh? And doing all kinds of crazy shit and getting ready to announce all kinds of stuff tonight. Tonight, the announcement episode of Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with me, your host, George C. Romero, and my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely.
Tip my hat to that. My Romero Pictures Indie Brigade hat to that.
That's a nice hat. That's a nice hat. That's limited edition, huh?
Yeah, that is. It was getting a little too warm for the beanie, so I had to.
I hear you. So you busted out the old LE. That's what they call it. That's what the kids call it.
Is that what that is? I need to get what we refer to as the old man dad hat. So I'm going to get one of those made.
Oh, man. I don't know. Those don't look good on me. I don't like them. I like the trucker hats.
Yeah, I think I'm a little too round for the trucker thing, but
that looks good on you, man. You can pull that off. You look like you might pull out, jump out the old 18 Wheels of Thunder and beat some ass.
Long story. I have a Class A license, by the way.
I don't doubt you for a second. Well, you tow that big boat around, right? So. Man, what a whirlwind of a couple of weeks it's been, huh?
Yeah.
Why don't we first of all welcome everybody to the season 3 premiere of Romero Pictures Indie Brigade proper with me, your host, George C. Romero, and my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely. I've been working on that, by the way. I've nailed that 3 times in a row. Fuck you, Joe.
All right. Let's put you to the test.
You can also listen to us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, TuneIn, RadioPublic, and Breaker. If you are more of an audio podcast kind of guy. Now, those aren't live, so you can't chime in. We can't make fun of you, and you can't blame Joe, at least not, on the air. You can, however, blame Joe in your personal life for anything that might go wrong with anything, anywhere. Man, I've been taking those like voiceover commercial acting classes. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. I haven't really done anything but that.
You've been doing nothing but listening to Movie Phone, right?
Why don't you just tell me what movie you want to see? Blame Joe. # blame Joe. Let's not forget. Let's take that strong into 2020.
Yeah, and it's been a rough one. But anyway,
it has been. You're okay though. You and yours, you're all safe, healthy, well.
I'm fine. A couple of days ago was a different story, but I'm feeling 110% better now. Thank you.
That was a couple of days ago, and I'm glad you're feeling better. You look better. You got some color back to your face. We'll see if we can't make that go real red before the Man, we got some people dialing in, huh?
Yeah, we do.
Dialing in on their dial-up. They're dialing up in.
What the hell was it? The 52K modem or?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I'm showing my age. I forget now.
Welcome, everybody. Can we get another announcement scroll?
I might have an announcement scroll. Wait a second. That was from yesterday.
Yeah, for anybody who wasn't here, it was a big sort of asshole moment in my life.
And it only took me a half hour to get it on there. So.
Yeah. Man, what else do we need to talk about? Let's hit on all the housekeeping stuff because it's season 3. It's our season 3 premiere. And we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. So I want to make sure that we get through the housekeeping. We've already talked about the audio streams. We've already talked about our season 3. Here you go. This is a big one right here. Romero Pictures Indie Brigade is available on Avail TV, on the Avail TV app, which you can download for the Roku, the Fire TV, the Apple TV, and the Apple TV Plus. So you can just watch our episodes over and over and over. So if you're feeling lonely in quarantine, if you're feeling sort of down and you want some company, just watch our episodes. Don't call us, just watch our episodes.
Like I said, if you need some of this.
Right. More of Joe's face in your life. That's,
they all have a sense of humor, obviously.
Huh?
I said they all have a sense of humor, obviously.
That's a big deal being on Avail TV. That means our video is now syndicated out there, and we've got some more stuff to talk about with regard to that video getting out there later, don't we?
We definitely do.
You know what? I'm just going to blurt it out right now. As of right now, Romero Pictures is never mind.
Oh, exciting announcement. You are going to want to stick around to the end of the Indie Brigade show. I mean, granted, you're going to want to see David Lee Madison's show regardless, but be sure to stick around to the end of our show.
Well, David's show tonight is phenomenal. He's got John McNaughton on there. If anybody doesn't know who John McNaughton is, you need to get fucking learned between now and 11 p.m. And if you do know who John McNaughton is, well, then you know what you're in store for. It's a really big deal to have him with David on the Indie Brigade Network, and we're honored. We're full of just pride and honor that he's here joining the crew tonight. So, John McNaughton in the Brigade. What's up, Dino? Love you too, man. Lance, that was kind of for you.
More Joe. All right.
More Joe. All right. Let's see. Real quick, I want to touch on some stuff about the Veterans Compound and about our merch and stuff like that. We do still have merch. We do still run our merch store. You haven't heard us talk about it much because, well, you'll find out tonight. But, if you like the Indie Brigade, if you like spending time with us, if you've learned anything from us, go to RomeroPictures.com. Get you some merch. We are going to be taking the limited edition stuff off here pretty soon. And just to make room for our 2020 line and for our Scare Tactical line. If you aren't familiar with the Scare Tactical line, it is a line of merchandise that we are putting out exclusively to help raise money toward getting the Veterans Compound off the ground. It's fucking badass with artwork all designed by our own Ian Steyer, who writes The Devil is Into Details, the blog for the Indie Brigade, available on RomeroPictures.com. If you haven't read his blog, you need to. He speaks some truth, and it's awesome. But every piece of Scare Tactical merch that you buy not only helps us keep the lights on and servers running here at the Indie Brigade, but it also, a portion of that sale also goes toward the Veterans Compound Startup Fund. The Veterans Compound, for anybody who doesn't know, is a program I've been working for a long time and very hard to launch. And it's time to sort of take that into my own hands, punk rock brigade style. So that's why we are doing a push to try to raise up some money to cover those startup fees and all of that stuff. It's a program. It's an amazing program where we work with. The plan is to work with 60 vets a year and teach them how to sort of process what they've been through the creative arts of filmmaking, music, things like that. From screenwriting to cinematography, but also all the way down to the tech side of filmmaking, into all the crew positions, and then each class of 30 vets will make a feature film, and those vets then end up owning a piece of that film for all time. So, it's good for them, and it's literally the least we can do at Romero Pictures and the Indie Brigade. So help us get it off the ground. Buy some Scare Tactical merch. Another way to help us get it off the ground is to buy some tickets to spend some time on screen live with some of our celebrity lineup tomorrow during DEF CON 1. Hey, Linnea. So Linnea was supposed to be on tonight, but we're having technical difficulties. She will, however, be here tomorrow for day one of the DEF CON 1. We are confident we can get the issues worked out in plenty of time, so nobody has to worry about an issue tomorrow. However, we just couldn't do it in time and actually be on time to be live tonight. So anyway, she's here with us. We love her to death. We're so thrilled that she's part of this DEF CON 1. and she's such a sweetheart and such a sweet lady, and I love her so much. So love you, Linnea, and thank you. Joe Castro is here. What's up, Joe Castro? You ready for your demo on Sunday? Joe Castro doing an effects demo on day 2 of DEF CON 1. Man, we're getting some good people in here. Damon, what's up, man? Listen, I just want to let you know I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right now for you. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do that as many times as I can because that's how excited I am.
Linnea is saying she wishes she could. And Joe, love Joe.
I love Joe too.
Oh, they're scrolling by so fast I can't even keep up.
I think Terry Gerald is here. Terry L. Gerald, as we like to call him in the Indie Brigade, he's our resident drone Jesus. Terry runs the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade Drone Cav, which is a phenomenal educational series on drones, not only how to learn how to get into them, learn what ones to buy, learn how to get licensed to do it, but how to think about using a drone in indie filmmaking. He does some phenomenal stuff, and on day 2 of DEF CON 1, on Sunday afternoon, Terry will be doing another live demo all about sort of getting a quick start going with the drone. So make sure that you tune in for that. Actually, we're also going to have David Madison is going to be up there moderating some of those panels. David Madison, of course, from The End of the Night, which we already talked about, but he's going to be there Sunday. So make sure you all show up. This thing is getting huge and it's blowing up, and it couldn't happen without everybody here and the literally electric vibe that comes off the brigade. You know,
so I'm curious if they're actually coming for us or if they're talking to each other in the chat only, and we're just like the
TV in the background.
Yeah. They're all saying hi to each other. No, it's cool.
But look, Bill, I want to point that out. I'm glad you pointed that out, actually. That's phenomenal. Look what that is. That's the brigade right there. That is the indie fucking brigade talking to each other, right? That's what this whole thing was about when we started it, Joe. So you know what? If they don't want to listen to me, that's fine. If they don't want to listen to you, who does anyway? So, I mean, you know, this is the whole point of the brigade. Everybody in the brigade is working together. They are talking together.
Yeah, I know.
Whoa, thank you, Linnea.
I'm hoping she's my day.
You might have to fight my wife, but you guys are already best friends, so I don't think it matters. Anyway.
We got to say hi to Judith. Hi, Judith.
Hey. Hi there, Judith. How are you? Man, now I got to watch my mouth.
Oh yeah, she's gonna put that mom face on it.
Yeah, Terry's mom in the house. I can't. Fuck. Sorry, Judith. Shit. Damn it. Sorry. Fuck.
Damn it, George. Read that.
What's that? It so should, George. You guys deserve it. And we really need what you guys do. We are here for a reason. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, man. Seriously, we're here for you guys. This is the whole point of the Indie Brigade. This is why we do it. We don't do this shit for any other reason than to just try to help and be there for you guys. So, Joe Castro's coming for you.
Wait a minute. Isn't this guy going to be on later? No, wait, that's a different guy. Wait a minute, that was David Madison. What's this? Who's David Martin?
Hello, everyone. Going to be a big show tonight, an even bigger weekend. Yes, it is, David. Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
See, I'm already confusing people. I'm mixing people up. What the hell am I going to do this weekend? I have no idea. You're going to make me stream 8 hours a day, 2 days in a row.
Hash brown bad producing.
Hashtag wigging out, man.
Isam, what's up? I'm going to try to make it. I'll let you know in about 20 minutes. Isam's going to try to maybe come on. We've got some stuff to talk about regarding this gentleman right here. He is a good, dear friend of mine.
He's a cool cat.
Super cool cat. And if anybody saw the promo graphic for tonight, the topic is, what is Catch Sitka? We're going to find out because it's fucking dope as shit.
Judy knows all the words.
Kelly, I'm sure she does. Thomas Churchill, we'll see you in a little bit. Happy Friday. Happy DEF CON 1 weekend.
Yes.
You know, I love how excited everybody is about this DEF CON, man. And you know what? I can't wait to see how much more excited people get about it in about, about an hour maybe?
Oh, wow. One of my childhood friends is joining us. Haven't seen him in years. Hey, Jason. Good to see you.
You guys want to catch up for a minute? That's cool, man.
Oh, yeah, you mind?
No, go ahead. I'm just going to pour some coffee here. So,
That's awesome. Oh, that dude was like a freaking second-degree black belt. He was a good friend to have.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt it. Always good people to know. Smithson Creations Handcrafted Woodworking. Sean Smithson, the official sponsor of Ian Steyer's blog, The Devil is Into Details. A phenomenal woodworker and a dear friend who actually has credited publicly the Indie Brigade with inspiring him to take that leap of faith and start writing his first horror film. So if you're in the private Indie Brigade community on Facebook, you'll see that and you'll get to be a part of that and kind of watch him grow as a writer. And it's really, really fucking cool. Yes, Clay, coffee is life. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit tonight as well. So...
one more thing, just before we have people come on, just talk about that for a quick second again, and then we shall get started.
Well, do you have the original teaser? Do you want to play the original one without the later?
No, I don't. In other words, I don't have it queued up. It's not what you do. You not recall the?
I need to find a pen so I can. All right, that's cool. That's cool.
You sent me 3 different things, and then you said, no, scrap that one. And finally, like a couple hours later, it's like, here's the one. I'm like, oh, okay. And what did I do right before the show? I showed it to you.
Yeah, you did. But I thought you might still have the old one too.
Your expectations are entirely too high.
Brown Bad Producing.
You're
supposed to anticipate what's up here, Joe. I can't be expected to tell you everything. You just need to figure. I mean,
I'll tell you what. I will next time. Just fix your solar panel first.
Man, I got the quarantine shit going. It's crazy.
And there's all the freaking blame. Whatever. All right. Are you ready to pull up our first guest of the evening?
I am. Absolutely, I am. I'm very excited about it. So should we just jump right in here?
Oh, yeah. Let me pull up the other guy who doesn't smile first. And then let me pull up his new cohort. And I will allow you to introduce.
Look at that. With us right now, we have Mr. Dan Yeager. Dan, what are you smoking? What are you drinking tonight for season 3 premiere?
I'm down to the bottom of the fucking humidor here, bros. This is just some Rocky Patel something or other. I don't even know what it is.
So quarantine's really fucking with your selection.
We're almost out of Highland Park. It's rough. It is rough.
Are you okay? Are you?
I'll be all right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, CW Penny. Everybody recognizes and knows CW from the Brigade. He's been a longtime supporter, dear friend of the Brigade. And he and Dan are now officially working on some stuff together. So what I'd like to do is just kind of talk to you guys first about that and say, first of all, let everybody know they're listening to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with me, your host, George C. Romero, my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely. Right now, we're chatting with Dan Yeager and CW Penny. And you guys are working on something very cool right now. Isn't that true?
Several things, I think, or at least, yeah.
Well, why don't we start? Let's just go down your checklist here for a few minutes, because I think you guys have some kind of cool announcements, and this is a really great way to kind of like kick off the announcement episode.
All right. CW is king of announcements. I'll let him handle it.
All right.
Yeah, so on the
bad shit together, I don't.
On the Bad Anger Pictures side, we got a couple of scripts that we're trying to get moving into film, and we're looking for some associate producers and whatnot to get rolling on all that good stuff. Slaughter Farm being one of them, and Zombie Bear. I mean, George got his own Zombie Bear shirt, so. I
do. I'm not wearing it today. It's my lucky shit. It's my new lucky shirt. I should be wearing it, but it's dirty for me. I wore it out into the coronavirus pandemic, and now it's got to be, man.
Yeah, you were wearing it last night, though, on a live broadcast.
He was. Yeah.
I was. Yeah.
Looked damn good on him, too.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I'm a professional Zombie Bear T-shirt model.
Right. So
the check is in the mail.
Yeah, yesterday we dropped the Facebook page and the website actually for Killer Choice Coffee. which is Dan's coffee line that's out. If anyone, I think Clegg actually chimed in earlier and said coffee is life. So
this is exciting and interesting to me. So tell me about this coffee, Dan. Tell me, like, how did you get into this coffee thing? Why did you get into coffee? Like, people get into things. I get that. But how did coffee, like, how did this all happen? How do you do that?
Well, you know, if anybody who's ever made a movie knows how important coffee is.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is the diesel fuel of the entire process. And, you know, I always struggle to find a good cup that I liked. And I don't know, I took a marketing course actually. And this woman was talking about how you're supposed to be careful not to be offensive or, in bad taste. And all these brilliant bad taste ideas just kept coming to me. And then, I was sitting there drinking coffee. This is an online thing. And it just came to me out of the blue, Killer's Choice coffee. And so, the marketing is all in the poorest of taste. It's good coffee, the bottom line.
Is it? So did you like hand select the beans? Did you fly around the world to different bean fields? And
well, I had a supplier in California when I was doing it. I was just trying to get it off the ground, and then I ended up moving to New York. And New York is an absolute coffee desert. So it took me 3 years to find another supplier. And these guys are totally dialed in and connected to, the world of coffee, which is a world unto itself. And
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Anyway, they do all, they do top-notch stuff. It's a blue-collar coffee though. I mean, it's not one of these fancy, it ain't gourmet. It's for coffee for people who need to get shit done. And,
look, when
take care of business.
There was a time I would go to Starbucks and places like that, and I would say, give me a medium coffee, and they would look at me weird, and they would say, well, what do you mean? What kind of coffee do you want? And I would joke around and I would say, look, I want a stale coffee in a styrofoam cup, and I want it medium sized, and I want it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, when we were shooting Texas Chainsaw, I would stop in the Starbucks. There's only one place to get a cup of coffee on the way to the studio. And I'd stop in there and I started out ordering a black eye, which is just a coffee with a double shot of espresso.
Oh yeah.
Unlike a red eye, which only has one shot.
Right.
And then in short order that up to what the guy told me was a dead eye, which is 3 shots of espresso.
Yep.
And then finally, I mean, we were, maybe a week and a half into shooting, and I told him, bro, I need something more. And I said, give me 4 shots. And he says, I don't know what to call that. I said, we're going to call that the Leatherface. So I've always been into coffee.
I hope you stopped there because I hope you stopped there because I think past that he would have just given you some Coke.
Oh, bro, my heart couldn't.
I do have to comment that Krista is going to be joining us on Sunday for her panel. And
oh, hey, what's up? She's here watching. That's cool. What's up, Krista?
Cool as hell.
Yeah, we're going to talk tomorrow. That's going to be exciting. I'm cool.
That would be
excited.
Sunday.
What's up? Oh, yeah, Sunday. See, I'm a little fucked by all this scheduling stuff too, Joe. What's up, Holly? Thank you for watching and joining tonight. Linnea is here. Sorry, we just got to make a couple shout outs.
Yeah.
Always shout out.
Yeah. So, well, listen, this is exciting to me. And, what I'd like to just talk about quickly is, the importance, it's important no matter what you do in this industry, in the horror world, in the indie world, it's important to always think about the business of your career. Right. And so this, I'm assuming, because I love the name, I love the brand, I love the artwork, I love everything about it. But this is the business of your brand, is it not? Right. So, and that's something that I actually had a conversation about this yesterday with a buddy of mine who's going to be on the show in a little while, about how, there's this side of this industry and this perception about this industry where we, the artists, we make our art. But, at the end of the day, the art that we make, it's the end product, right? You're lucky to be an artist for the period of time you get to actually do the creating. But all around that, there's a business of the art that a lot of young filmmakers and indie folks aren't really trained in thinking about. And so, I guess my question to you would be, how important is it for people to sort of think about themselves as a brand in the indie world? And what are some tips that you have when it comes to, because you are a brand in yourself. And so what's some advice you would give a young indie filmmaker about creating a brand around themselves and a bigger picture sort of thinking?
Yeah, well, there are those examples of people who have been able to reinvent themselves, and that happens. That's a real hard slog, and it usually requires some pretty phenomenal success before a fall from which to reinvent yourself. The best thing is, once you find your niche, your brand, who you are to the industry. Because you don't get to tell the industry what you want. They'll tell you. And, the people who keep banging away at it's all about me, it's what I want, that's really a tough road. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but, that's a tough way to go about it. And I was stupid. It was 1984 when Robert Quarry told me to move to Hollywood because I'd make a living playing monsters. And, I heard move to Hollywood and, be in the movies, but I missed the whole part about playing monsters. And it wasn't until I figured that out that, man, the whole thing just, unfolded at my feet. And okay. All right, now I get it. That's and I don't bother with, I can play, any, old man role, but, I'm a monster. I don't mind that. And a particular kind of monster.
Well, right. But you're saying, and there's a question just popped up I want to get to, but I just want to wrap up this point real quick. You're saying you went out there, somebody said, come out here, play monsters. You went out there, you said, hey, you heard, move to Hollywood and just do what you want to do. So you went out there and you beat your head against the wall. Star. Yeah, you beat your head against the wall for a while, and you're saying to yourself, why is nobody hiring me to do what I want to do? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden one day it kind of hit you like a ton of bricks. It was like, wait, that's not what he said. He said, come out here and be a monster. And then it started going. Show
up and offer to help.
Yeah.
And people will find a place for you.
That's it.
There's everybody needs help. None of us do this alone, and we're all grateful when, people offer to help. My God, but, ask poor CW, he made that mistake.
Well, I got a question here, and then we're going to talk about something else that CW wants to talk about. Is there room for a new monster movie filmmaker? I want to create some creature features. We need more monsters. What do you think about that? That's an interesting. I'm sure you get asked this question, probably a lot or a variation of it, but this is a first-time question like this on the Indie Brigade, so I'm curious about your answer. Do you think that all the iconic monsters are kind of? Do you think what do you think it's going to take for somebody to make another iconic monster?
Well, this is a weird time in the industry because the entire thing has been tipped over on its head. Nobody really knows what the future holds. The future is what we make of it, and there is nothing but this constant technological march toward the democratization of filmmaking. It's getting cheaper to make movies every day. It's getting, it's every bit as hard to make good movies. It's real easy to make crap movies. It's really hard to make good movies. nice, but
Yeah.
it's always been really hard.
Yeah.
But that economic barrier is crumbling. You see it constantly, and they're.
So you think we'll get a new monster out of it?
There are plenty more monsters. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. CW, what else you want to announce?
Well, on the website, we do have Gravedigger Roast that we're getting ready to roll out. We got some coffee mugs we're getting ready to roll out. Once we find the master ingredient to another roast, we will be launching another one. I don't know, Dan, if you want to drop the name of that one or not. It's up to you.
Do I?
Yeah, you want to drop the name on another roast, or you want to hold on?
I hate to get people all excited.
Okay,
I
well,
say
hold on.
hold on
Wait
to
a minute. This is the announcement episode. Did
Well,
you
this is a
hear
pretty
that?
big announcement to start with, and we do have a part 2 of this announcement, actually.
Yes.
But first of all, tell everybody what your website is, where they can go find it.
Mr. Yeager.
KillersChoice.com. Just
Boom.
like it sounds.
I cannot wait to get me some KillersChoice.com.
I'm gonna get you some.
Coffee. Well, yeah, and that goes into the next thing that CW and I discussed, and I believe that we've all discussed this. So whoever wants to announce this, go ahead, because I'm really excited about it, and I'm just going to go ahead and sip my inferior coffee. You guys listen.
You want me to do that, Dan, or do you want to jump on it, or what?
I'd love for you to do that.
All right. Well, me and Mr. Romero and yourself have corresponded over the last couple of days. And we've come to an agreement that once we start rolling out our coffee, Killer's Choice is going to become the official coffee brand of the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Because coffee is life, and we survive off of coffee all day, all night. So
Coffee
thanks,
is life.
guys. I'm very excited for that. I'll be very excited to be making some graphic announcements about that moving forward and putting that out there in the world and letting everybody know. So very excited about that. What else did we want to talk about?
We certainly appreciate your support on that, George.
Oh, come on. You were literally one of the first guests on this show, one of the first people who said, let's see what this Romero dude wants to fucking talk about on the internet. And I'll love you forever for that, man. So, beyond our friendship. So your support has been wonderful for this whole experience. And you were one of the original members of the brigade, Dan. So thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Also the official, I was about to say, also the official coffee of Bad Anger Pictures.
Boom. All right, guys.
Oh,
Well, let's see. These you can also you'll be able to find direct links to their new coffee in the DEF CON 1 vendor space during the DEF CON 1 over the next 2 days, and that vendor space will live forever. So again, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, giving us some of your time and talking about what's going on with you. Always happy to have you here, and always happy to be a platform to help you guys talk about what you got going on.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's good to see you guys. Have a good show. Stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you Sunday night, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, you will.
Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
correct.
Yes, sir. Dan Yeager.
All right, the whole chainsaw gang.
Yep, the whole Chainsaw Gang for the DEF CON 1 Chainsaw panel. So if you haven't got your tickets to participate on day one, snag those at romeropictures.com. And make sure you come back and check out the Chainsaw panel Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dan Yeager will be present and accounted for.
I love how he had to plug that for us, and you. No, never mind.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll see you next time.
I love those guys.
I've been working with Dan for some time now. Yes, absolutely. And with CW, we did Bad Anger Pictures' first live podcast show. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was definitely interesting with some people from Texas Chainsaw Massacre are on, and good times, good memories.
Good times, good times. How you doing, Joe? You feeling good?
No.
Joe, did you know that people right now out there in the world are listening to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with me, your host, George C. Romero, and my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely?
That is amazing.
Right? So, you know, man, now all I want is my Killer's Choice coffee.
Well, I mean, you know, are we going to like have the David Letterman show or Johnny Carson and have the mug here and the...
Yeah, maybe. My mug's right here. This is the most important mug.
Hold on, let me get a close up. There it is.
Boom. Blame Joe. Best mug ever.
Oh, wow. All right.
Oh,
really?
What's going on?
Really?
Branch Lee. Let's acknowledge some more comments here. It looks like people are talking.
Foxhall Woodwork. We got a lot of wood people here.
Yeah, buddy. Woodworkers unite.
More
Woodworkers are creators.
Yeah. Hey now.
Woodworkers are creators. We make, we build, we create. You know, and it's cool because when you're a woodworker and you have an idea and then you build it, you look at something that takes up physical space in the world around you that wasn't there before, like a cabinet or something, and you know, and that's really a cool feeling. It's tangible. It's very it's amazing, and it's super relaxing too. It's very zen. It helps me clear the cobwebs.
I think I'm offended. I don't know if I'm like reading a whole thing or okay.
Man,
can you feel the love?
Oh, definitely. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Well, I'm kind of curious that one of our guests, and you know, can I put you on the spot for a moment so I could do research for about a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Joe enjoys doing this. He thinks it stresses me out. I'm not sure what he's talking about, what he's doing, where he's going, what's happening, but I'm sure it's all producery and shit. So, what's up, buddy? Preach it, George. I love it, man. This is just awesome. This shit does my heart so good, so good, and it does my spirit so much good to see everybody out here just doing it, you know? Like, I talk about this shit all the time. Holly, you're the best. Talk about this shit all the time, you know? We're the artists. We're the ones who are going to tell this story. Been having this conversation a lot with people in this quarantine situation. You know, when this is all over, the memories of this, we're going to be the ones to tell it. We're going to be the ones that set the tone for how this period of time is remembered. You know, whether it's through books or film or photographs or screenplays or, you know, whatever it is, painting, song, whatever it is. We're the ones who are going to do it. Hi, Joe.
I found somebody in the lobby.
Yo, buddy.
Let's just hope he has audio. Nope. He doesn't have audio.
There it is. No. Anything?
No. And this, Mr. Churchill, is why we do a pre-show checklist at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, that's the problem, man. See, we can't even hear you to plead your case.
Puppet Master. Yeah, exactly. No, can't hear you. I don't. Oh, your mic is on, and maybe a setting in the. I don't know what it looks like on the other side. The three little dots. Is there a setting for where your speaker is or your mic is, or which one controls your mic? Well, that turns your camera off.
Well, shit.
For those listening to the audio only in the future, We actually have to. Maybe if you back all the way out and then try to jump back in, I'll try to. Well, hell,
Boom. See, that's somebody who listens. What's it like to meet somebody who listens to you?
I'm sorry.
Man,
got to be on the ball. Got to be on the ball. Who was faking it?
Crazy times, Joe. Crazy times.
I'm telling you, I'm just excited for the freaking thing. It's only 9:41.
It's only 9:41. It's only 9:41. Breathe deep, everybody. Breathe deep. Announcements are coming.
Yeah. Oh, everybody thinks he was screwing with us. No, it's actually a side effect of this program. If you don't do it right, then you can't speak.
Yeah, but everybody thinks that because that's Terry's gag. Terry comes on and does that, and he's faking it.
True. And then you have like George who pretends he freezes and just yeah, I can't do it as well as he does. Sing Bradley song. I don't think so. Come on, 10:30. Wow, man, are we not? Ooh.
Hash Brown, bad producing.
Hash Brown. You know what? Then we got Katie Walsh that's sending us.
What's up, Katie?
It's all good. So you know what I'm going to do, Mr. Grieco. I'm going to put you up. Maybe not. Maybe
nope.
so. I'm just going to tease everybody.
That's not good. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh!
Hey, he's back. There he is. What's up, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. How's it going? Krista's got a message for you. She's laughing at you. It says you're a gangster.
I'm on the West Coast. I don't know. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How's things? How's life?
Life is good. I'm trying to find a good spot there you go. There you go.
That's good.
How are you guys? How's George, Joe? Thank you for having me on. I'm happy to be part of on the show today for your Indie Brigade. Hello, everybody in the chat room.
Man, we're happy to have you here. You know, when we talked yesterday on the phone, it was a great conversation, man. Yeah, it's funny. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. We circle and circle and circle in this industry, and sometimes it takes something weird to make people actually meet. And you know, we've talked online. We've circled. We've been in the same groups. We've even done some of the same shows and same everything together. But yesterday was the first time we ever had a one-on-one talk,
and it was great.
It was really great. It was really great.
I felt like I knew you my whole life.
I know, right? I think that's that East Coast thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, listen, first of all, for anybody who doesn't know you, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and what you want the Indie Brigade to know you as.
Hello, Thomas Churchill. I'm a writer, director. I'm a Leo. I like long walks on the beach. No, I was telling George last night that some time ago I used to be a co-host on one of the friends of the show, as we say on the East Coast, with Jimmy Starr's show. And then I had my own radio show as well called Church's Hollywood Moments that I was hoping to do something like what George and Joe is doing with the Indie Brigade about bringing all the independent filmmakers together, kind of like a union, where, you know, there is no, it's kind of like a weird thing. It's like when you try to help certain people or you try to help a group of young independent filmmakers or regular filmmakers, and you're doing it from the love of your heart and things that you've been through, that you're hoping maybe you're seeing someone else about to make that mistake that maybe you made 15, 20 years ago. And you want to help them and say, no, don't go down this road, go down this road. And then sometimes people take offense to that like you're pissing on them or you're stopping them. But, you know, I bleed indie. You know, I've been blessed with work that I've done in the past, but I bleed indie. I'm an indie producer. I'm an indie writer. I'm an indie director. I am for hire. But you know, I mean, I do work with certain studios, but when it's all at the end of the day, I'm me. I'm the same guy from Glendale, New York, who picked up a video camera in 19 and started shooting his own movies with his friends and family, and then winning an award, and then just had that bug, and I love this business, and if I can give back and help and teach and show, everybody out there, don't take it as that we're putting you guys down or anybody down. It's like, George can tell you too. It's like when you're trying to help someone and you see that person going down that wrong road, and you're like, no, you don't want to do that. Go this way, and sometimes it's successful to help someone, and it feels good. It's not about money. Because if it was, can I say that? Sorry.
Yeah, you can fucking say anything you want, man. This is the Indie Brigade, man. Fuck it.
Fuck yeah. Here we go. Ooh-ah. No, look, I got my official Jimmy Star shirt, by the way, but I thought it was fitting to be part of the brigade.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. It's not about money. I don't know what that happened. It just.
I was going to start off by saying that, Thomas, that's the worst possible West Coast accent I have ever heard.
I actually come from a small little area called New York.
Oh, I know nothing about that place.
Yeah. Well, see, I appreciate the Giants, but I'm an underdog from the get-go. I'm still a Jet fan, and I hate to say it. I really hate to say it. It hurts to say it.
All right, so it was good seeing you. On that note, who else do we?
If you didn't know before you got here, you should know this is a tough room.
Hey, but David Madison, he's a Jet fan. He's a diehard Jet fan.
I know. Jets, Mets, Yankees, whatever.
Hey.
We're thrilled to have you here, man. And you're right. And that's what the point of the Indie Brigade is. We can't be there for every indie filmmaker to kind of help them and guide them, But I've seen so many young indie filmmakers get screwed with so many of the same things or make the same mistakes over my life and my career. I spent a lot of time trying to help people one-on-one.
Right.
And I realized that, you can lead a horse to water. Right. And so what we're trying to do with the Indie Brigade is basically just that. We're trying to lead the horse to the water. Right. If you want to take a drink, if you want to learn, if you want to listen, great. If you don't, then don't, and go do it your way. But, we've got an entire Indie Brigade here that's led by and played heavily within by some real heavy hitting pros and some people who've been doing this shit a long time, like you, a long time like me, a long time like everybody else who's out here offering their guidance and their assistance and their knowledge. And if people don't want to listen, then we're not going to sweat it, right? Then go do it your own fucking way. And when you come back and you say, hey, guess what? You guys were right. We'll say, yeah, we know. We're glad you learned. Welcome back. Right.
That's right.
It's all about.
But they always, there's the three common areas they always make mistakes on. And if people can listen to this, is they always shoot their load with their money and they never finish the film. That's number one, because they got the money in their hand and they're already spending it in their head without actually putting a dollar amount. Number two is the casting. They'll go out and get someone that we were talking about this yesterday. They'll go out and find someone that's like a reality star because they're on TV, but nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. You got to find someone. I mean, if you want to have some sort of name in your film, there's so many people in the indie world that's been out there, and there's so many people in all these conventions that, actors want to work. And if you're going to bring a right project to, with whether it's a SAG or non-union, whether they're FICOR or not, they want to work. And the third mistake they always do is they sell their soul to the devil when they sign a distribution deal, because they see other people get their movies out and on the shelves and everything else, and they think the certain company's really doing it. And you're like, I want to jump on this. These guys did this and they're in Walmart and they're in this. But at the end of the day, guess who's making that money? a fucking distributor, not you.
That's right.
And that's when you try to put the brakes and you tell people don't sign with that company. What do you know? You made movies that.
And that's fine. That's fine. Look, everybody's got to learn it their own way. Dan Yeager was just talking about that, right? He was just talking about that a minute ago. He said, somebody told me to go out to Hollywood and make a living making monsters, and I heard move to Hollywood and be a movie star. And it's the same thing, a lot of these lessons, look, no matter what, it's like a kid, right? Like no matter what we tell you, no matter how much proof, we could have charts, we could have, the whole thing and fucking draw it out and say, here's exactly what's going to happen. And there's going to be the folks who are going to go out there and say, well, yeah, you might be right, but I'm still going to go learn the lesson the hard way. And you know what?
True.
There's a level of respect that I have for them because, the only way to truly learn this shit is by taking your lumps. Right. And if we can help people avoid the big lumps, then we're doing something right. And I consider myself lucky and I get to close my eyes at night and feel like I did a good thing.
That's right. And here's the funny part. You take your lumps. I made small movies. I made bigger films. And then you got the Instagram critic out there that, will go out and be, pissing on your film because he can't get the money to make his own movie. And meanwhile, you got to look at it as these indie guys. Instead of saying, wow, these guys are just like me, and they were able to take this road and get their movie out there and put all these people in there and work with the last film we just did with Krista and I, Nation's Fire. I never thought in my life I would direct a 2-time Academy Award nominee Bruce Dern and Chuck Liddell. And, it was a great experience. It was a great project. It was, working with my friends, Krista. I worked with her. God, she's my family. I worked with her on over the last 12 years on like 13 projects. And when you read things from people, I don't really want to read any more reviews because to me, I think they're not real reviews. They're angry people that are jealous or can't really do what you want to do or they can't get where you're at. So they're going to piss on you by just breaking things up that have nothing to do with the project. And it was funny. It's like we got criticized with our trailer. The trailer came out. It was like, it's like, dude, just stop it. Mm-hmm. Wait for something. You want fresh and new. Indie people give you fresh and new. First you complain about Hollywood, the Hollywood system. They recycle shit over and over, and then indies, we give you new stuff. We all put our bands, we put our blood, sweat, and tears because this is what we love. And it's not about the dollar and the corporate. But then you got the indie people, not all, indie people and the rest of the world that will begin to hate. When you take the hate, flip it, and love it, and that's what gives you that strength, like Popeye and his spinach. And you go out and you just keep going because like you, we talked about this. We both have the I don't give a fuck attitude. Yeah. I'm here for me. I'm making movies for what I like and what I wanted to see. And if it makes you guys out there like what we do and want to watch and become fans, I love that. But understand, we all are on our own journey. We're all following our own path. And if we got here because of, hard work that you haven't seen, because we've been working hard behind the scenes for 30 years, and now we're blowing up or whatever, whoever it is, you gotta take the lumps with the bad lumps. And you gotta, at the end of the day, when you put your head, as you stated, on your pillow, understand you did it for you and you're comfortable, no regrets.
Yeah, you did it for yourself. You did it for the right reasons, and you did it so that you could feel like you walked through one more day, like the Buddha says, with your back straight, man. Walk with your back straight. That's all you got to do. People, we live in a hate culture. People hate before, like when I announce a project, the hate that gets spewed is if I paid attention to it, if I make an announcement, hey, I'm going to make this movie, man. Fuck you, man. Like it better be as good as your dad, man. And if it's not, fuck you. I hope you die.
You know?
And it's like, all right, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go cry now, or I'm not, and I'm not gonna read it, and I'm not gonna give a fuck, because I don't make it for people to hate it. I make it so that I get it out of my spirit and I get it out of my head.
Right.
We got a guy. We got some questions coming up here. I got to pause because we got to go address some of this stuff. Let's see here. There was well, Eric, you had an interesting one up here. Where did it go? Oh man, how do we get the opportunity to take advantage of getting your help? We're ready and willing. Eric, it's easy, man. We have a mentor program with the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. It's available on the Romero Pictures website. You can go. I'm very behind on adding a couple of mentors to it. We'll get Thomas in there as well.
Hey,
we're all available. It's easy. You just book us for a 2-hour chat, and we'll help you with whatever you need, man. It's easy. We would do it all for totally free, like we do everything, but we do have some pay services here. Some of those services do include things like script consultations and things like that. And I think Joe wants me to just pause and let everybody know they're listening to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with me, your host, George C. Romero, and my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely. Right now, we're talking with Thomas Churchill.
That's me.
Filmmaker.
So what I really wanted to say was, so I can actually get one-on-one time with one of you guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
Live one-on-one time?
Live one-on-one time. And we work out the schedule with whatever, once you book a session, we work it out. You get an email. We work it out, whatever works for both parties. And it's, generally I've done full 2-hour sessions, and I've done sessions where I break it up into 1 hour at a time, because a lot of the times you dump so much science and knowledge in the first hour that you guys need. What I've found is some of the people who've booked sessions with me is then they need to take what we go over in hour one and process it or apply it to what they're working on, and then come back for the second hour, and that's doable too. So it's all totally cool and relaxed, and it's super fun for you guys, and it's super fun for us too. So do it.
We were talking about hating and stuff. What's funny is I'm sure after Dan announced his coffee line, there's some kid on a website already hating it. It's telling
some kid's like, I'm never drinking coffee again. Fuck you, Dan.
Leatherface. It's like,
I fucking hate coffee now.
Yeah. Switching to Sanka.
Oh, damn. You showed your age.
Yeah, I did.
Sanka. There's Joe. There's Judge Lee. Yeah. Well, listen, what do you have going on right now besides DEF CON 1? And then I'm going to ask you to plug DEF CON 1. But tell everybody where they can find you on the internet. What's going on with you? What you're working on?
Right now, we have, you guys can find me on my website, churchillproductions.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all under Thomas J. Churchill. I pretty much... I have some Facebook pages. Go like them and reach out. I'm accessible. If you know how to work the IMDb, I'm off of that. You can find me on there. Currently, we Krista and I, and we just had a screen. God, it was 2 months ago. We just released our film Nation's Fire. It's a biker film, action thriller. I have coming out this year also a film called The Amityville Harvest, Big Freaking Rat, which is a creature feature. I just wrapped a movie called The Stepdaddy, which is pretty interesting. Stars Vincent M. Ward. And I just actually did my first holiday movie. I did a Christmas film that I was very excited about. Because what's funny is, as a filmmaker, and horror, I love. It's my genre. I love horror. But I also love doing action thrillers as well. And, we did a family movie called The Rack Pack, and now I just did this Christmas movie. It's good as a filmmaker to because you're an artist. You shouldn't be stuck in one corner. As an artist, you should be able to do anything, but find a niche that you like. I mean, I enjoy thrillers. I like doing action or horror thrillers. But, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, I think anybody could do anything, any story. so you don't get stuck in that one little group, which happened to me at one point when I was told I'm just a horror guy. I don't know anything about action. And then we ended up doing, Checkpoint. And I also got the movie The Hard Way that I wrote, which is streaming on Netflix. If you guys are all locked down, have a Thomas Churchill day.
Why not? That sounds like a good day to me.
There's movies. I'm sure there's movies you're going to love and there's movies you're going to hate. But at the end of the day, everything was made to be entertained. So get your hate out of your head, get your love in your heart, and then just watch fellow indie people. And just, again, as George stated, you guys can always reach out to us, and we are here to help and do what we can. If we can teach, hey, if you can build it, they will come. Remember that.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I got a question for Joe here. Do you have the Catch Sitka? You have that, right? The trailer for the announcement.
Joe, what's going on here?
I know you're fucking with me, right?
Those are Giant fans, bro. Giant fans always do that.
You guys talk real quick for a minute. I can't tell he's fucking with me. So I'm going to go. I'm
going to become Silent Joe.
Let's see here.
And
you can play a YouTube link, right?
It'll take a few minutes, and it'll disrupt the other thing.
We'll keep talking.
It'll disrupt the other thing.
The other thing.
Well, it's one of our announcements, and it's on the title page.
Well, you kind of screwed the pooch on that one because you didn't send me those.
Can you still get away by screwing the pooch these days?
Well, it depends on what kind of breed it is.
And if you're in lockdown, I think it's okay. Because anything you do in lockdown is good. I don't know. Really
but George, what you're asking me to do is kind of difficult right now at this point of the program.
Okay, but we can do it though, right? At some point tonight.
Yeah.
All right, I just sent you this link because that's a huge announcement. It's we're gonna announce. I was hoping that he had the trailer queued up because I wanted to show it to you. We're gonna be announcing the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade first feature-length documentary film. It's the first feature-length film we're doing under our banner. It's a documentary called Catch Sitka, and it is an amazing project. We're shooting the full documentary this fall, but we got a trailer put together. And we're going to show that at some point tonight. So stick around with us, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
congrats.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I think it's going to be exciting. People are going to dig it. So listen, awesome, man. Thank you for joining us tonight. I don't want to stress out your vocals too much. You got a big panel coming up on Sunday. And I also don't want to give too much away. I just wanted everybody to meet you, introduce you to the brigade, welcome you in, man, with a big hug, a big virtual coronavirus remote hug. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for everything.
And who are you going to be on Sunday with? On
Chris DeGrady Saxton and George Romero.
Yeah, we're all talking. I just kind of wedged my way into your panel, so I hope you're cool.
Hey, wedge all you can. It's fine.
that was my planning.
All right, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right. Now I'm in a predicament.
Well, what predicament is that, Joe?
We've got two guests right now that really need to come up.
Yep.
How do you want to do that?
Well, why don't you what time is it? Why don't you bring up my friend and brother, Mr. Richard Grieco?
I love that guy. Now he's going to ignore us.
Grieco.
About damn time. You tried to pull me up once. You pulled me back. What the hell, Joe?
What's up, brother?
Blame Joe.
Fuck Joe, man. Oh, man, you're getting the Grieco sunglasses. Go fuck yourself, Joe.
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Mr. Grieco.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Me?
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you. Can you hear us? Hello, hello,
Can you
hello.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you guys.
He's got to back out all the way and come back in. Can you message him that?
There.
Or you want me to message him that?
Yeah.
All right. This is a certain downfall with Apple products for some reason with these programs.
Well, we'll get this stuff worked out. Look, there's always glitches, man. There's
There
always
it is. And it's technology. And what's going on in the world right now? It is what it is.
I'm just really happy that that our episode is streaming.
Yeah.
Joe puts the dick in predicament.
Hopefully he'll
Can
read
you hear
that.
me? Can you hear me, Grieco?
He can't hear you.
No.
He's not going to be able to hear you.
You want me to use the phone? So you want me to? Do you want me to talk on the phone?
No.
As
Back out all I put back out all the way and come back in. Nothing about okay.
Oh, you want me to just call him?
Yeah, call him.
All
This is not movie magic. What the hell is this? There's 30 friggin' comments already going, what the hell? Guys, give us a second so we can get Grieco on board again.
oh,
And Matt, thank you for standing by.
What's up, brother?
how much? How you doing?
Good, good. Joe says you have to back out and then rejoin the stream.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like completely
Back
close out, back
Yeah,
out.
Like this?
Click leave studio.
Click leave studio. Let's see. All right. Leave.
All right, now just rejoin it again. It's hot as hell in the studio tonight.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This is great, right? Well, again, this is behind the scenes stuff that people normally don't see. So, and again, Matt, we greatly appreciate you standing.
Yeah, Matt. We'll get through it, buddy.
And for those of you who don't know, Matt is the really, really important update special guest, gonna blow your freaking mind kind of thing. And we're just gonna call him Matt.
Are you coming back in?
Kick the hamster in the wheel.
Holly's amazing. She does some amazing art. Holly, you should some products and stuff. You should put your stuff up in the DEF CON vendor group for this weekend. It'll stay there forever.
Quarantine issues. Someone 21 jumpstart his computer. I think I heard a ding. Let's see.
All right. Are you back in?
There's our favorite ding.
All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, fungal. Really?
No, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Joe, say something.
Can you hear me? Hello? Is there anybody in there? Smile if you can hear me. Guess not.
Nope. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Grieco. We're not hearing you at all.
The only guy on the show that has better hair than me. Well, no, Brian's gonna, or I'm sorry, Matt's gonna be new. He may have better hair than me, but
No. You can hear me though here? Can you hear me through this?
but we
Yeah, but we can't hear you. All right, fuck, brother. Well, yeah. All right, back out, and I'll just call you in a little bit because we're up against it. All right, brother. I love you. Later.
see you, man. Thank you for trying. Damn. He's
Ladies
always.
and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Grieco.
Wait, you want me to put my hair down and try to do the sunglasses? Nah, fuck it.
No, stop that. Don't even think about it. All right. We'll get that worked out by tomorrow too, everybody.
I can pull it off.
So pull off your hair. All right. Are we going to do this? Let's, everybody, here we go. We're going to just jump right ahead through this little glitch that we had. And we're going to, you have the thing queued up because is everybody ready for
the amount of pressure here? Yeah. Do I have benefits or anything? I mean, I'm going to have a heart attack by the next episode. So.
You get hazard pay for having to work with me. So are we ready? Is everybody out there ready for this shit? Is everybody paying attention? Good.
You ready?
I'm ready. Do it.
It's going to take a second. No, I'm kidding. Why did that not go full screen? See, everything is working against me tonight. I'm telling you.
Heavy Metal, Romero Pictures, and the Indie Brigade present DEF CON 1, a 2-day online-only fan convention this weekend, March 28th and 29th. Live stream with 14 of your favorite celebrities from your favorite horror and indie films this weekend as we stream online 2 days, 8 hours a day. Day 1 features your chance to be on screen in a one-on-one live video chat with your favorite celebrities. Day 2 is packed with 7 one-hour panels and demos from the cast and crew of your favorite films, as well as some filmmakers to teach you some new tips and tricks. Live Q&As will be happening during all panels. This weekend only for 2 days, March 28th and 29th, Romero Pictures Indie Brigade presents DEF CON 1. Get tickets at romeropictures.com. Boom.
That one?
Yep, that one.
Okay.
Is Matt there?
Well, he is.
Bring him up.
You didn't say the magic word.
Fuck you, Joe.
Here's Matt.
Matt, CEO of Heavy Metal Magazine. What's going on, brother?
How you doing?
Good. How you doing out there? You safe, healthy, all that stuff?
Safe, healthy. My mic's working, so that's good.
Sorry about we had a couple glitches tonight. Sorry about that. It always happens. It's always
no. That's the beauty. No, that's the beauty of podcasting, the raw, unfiltered, behind-the-scenes view of how seriously insane it is to make shit happen. People need to realize.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, the Indie Brigade does realize that, man. The Indie Brigade, I want to welcome you into the brigade. I want to introduce the entire Indie Brigade who's watching and who will see this episode to you. My new friend and brother, man, we spent hours and hours and hours yesterday hashing and scheming and talking about some amazing fucking shit.
There's some big stuff we're gonna do. I'm so excited.
Well, let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about I'm gonna let you drive, man. I'm gonna let you drive about what you're excited about with heavy metal regarding all this stuff. And first of all, I want to say that I'm just beyond honored. This is one legacy that I grew up with, and this is in my opinion sort of two amazing legacies coming together, man, like for the new fucking future of it all.
100%. I mean, that was kind of how I saw it also. I think Indy, who's your buddy that connected us?
Joe, he's the producer right here.
That was Joe, because your email is Indy. I thought the dude's name was Indy.
Wow, I should take that up.
Yeah.
Joe has a lot of names. None of them are that cool.
But no, that email was forwarded to me from our managing editor, Ricardo. And I saw it and I was like, oh, can I curse on this?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, oh, fucking hell. I see exactly what we can do here. And I mean, I got really excited, honestly, when I emailed back Joe and you responded. And I was like, oh, I see how this is gonna go. So I was pumped. And I don't know, I'm just same as you. I see. I mean, the Romero Pictures family zombie brand history with the heavy metal. Let's get really uncomfortable and go 20 degrees past that. I mean, there's no two brands that are more harmonious than these two. So it's a pretty exciting time for us as well.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, listen, I don't know how much you want to kind of talk about, so let's just start with DEF CON 1.
Sure.
I believe this is the first of its kind. I believe it's the first online convention. I have not seen anything else out there. From the standpoint of a brand like heavy metal, what is the heavy metal brand that you speak for think of something like doing like this in a time like this? Part one, and part two is, how do you see this concept transcending this quarantine coronavirus shit? Right?
Yeah, it's great. It's funny because when I don't know if you've even I didn't even tell you this yesterday, but I don't know if you've been watching our Instagram before I even knew you were doing this live stream online convention. The second all of this COVID-19 stuff happened, I mobilized a weekly workshop of 20 to 30 minutes a day on our Instagram Live, because it is the future. So this week we've had Walking Dead's and Fantastic Beasts Stan Fogler. We had our sound engineer. We had Stephanie Phillip, who's rewriting Tarna for us. We had our editor-in-chief, Tim Seeley, all just going live for 15 to 45 minutes on our Instagram just to give the fans points of view, right? And then when I got hit with the DEF CON stuff, I was like, this is that on steroids, right? This is like an actual conference thought out 8 hours a day with like panels. And I think the future of everything is going to be the ability to do it remotely or do it in person, right? Right now, everything is designed to fail if you can't meet up. And that is the, to me at least, and I think I speak for everyone at Heavy Metal, that to me is the flaw, is that something should be able to be done virtually if needed, and something should be able to be done in person if needed. And there's this amazing cross section where the fan and the community have that flexibility, that elasticity to be able to congregate in whatever medium the moment takes for. So that's what I think is exciting about this.
Me too, and I think that the potential exists as we grow the DEF CON. For it to, eventually when things do calm down and the people do gather again, and there are public gatherings and things like that, the potential to cross over between live and online and have complementary content. I don't know if you remember back when second screen content started. It wasn't that long ago when shows like Netflix and they were doing second screen content, and it was this whole new concept. Well, I think that one of the things that we've learned through this Corona stuff is that second screen was just the first step to it. It's so far beyond that now, where we've got people out there collaborating. We've got people in the Indie Brigade collaborating on projects remotely. We're going to see this real world and online world become finally, hopefully, more than just a place for fucking memes, right? It's going to become a place that can be used for good.
We're not. I don't know if this has been done yet. It has not been done yet at a massive scale, but I don't think we're that far away from actors having at-home green screens and an entire movie being done segmented.
I don't think we're that far away either.
So I think to your point, and it just goes back to that same thought that I just said, the ability to do something that you could do in person or that you can do individually is the future, right? 100%, because what we've learned in this digital boom, at least for me, is that we're not all the same. Everyone has so many different points of views and so many different likes and dislikes that we haven't really thought about events in that same way. There could be people who love events, who love being at a convention for the content, but maybe is claustrophobic, or maybe doesn't want to get on a plane. And if you can start delivering those experiences offline, and those experiences are not contingent on a vast majority of people having to be there to put it on, now we're talking about a whole new frontier. And as you said, I think DEF CON, this is just the first one, but I think we both see this as something that happens multiple times a year, that can go everywhere from horror to maybe other genres within the genre space, and can even be condensed into a brand that has a one-day thing somewhere because it just makes sense.
Yeah. Dude, pop-ups, like pop-up convention,
Exactly.
right? Go into like niche, geo-marketed, whatever the fuck they call it, right? And do pop-up conventions. Like the future is happening now, and you know the world is distancing more and more. You know, we've had this weird phenomenon where social media has drawn people, quote unquote, together, but pushed them further apart. And now we've got this physical social distancing. It's going to happen. And, you know, and I think one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was, you know, a lot of the young indie filmmakers who pay attention to the brigade, you know, they need to think about developing their projects more along the lines of a property, right? And they need to think about developing their intellectual property in a way that's geared toward the times, the audience, the market, the current barometer of everything, right?
Yep.
So, you know, I mean, from somebody like you who understands the brand of heavy metal and the conversations we've had about our brands, you know, what's just maybe a couple of pieces of advice you would offer like a young person who has no way to get this information other than to hear it from you, right? Like, what would you say to somebody about developing their property or their ideas into a property as opposed to just writing a script?
Yeah. Build the world, right? And for me, because I'm not just the CEO of heavy metal, I'm also a writer. So I have novels and graphic novels and all these things out in the world. And I always build, sometimes to my detriment, two expansive worlds. Take me a long time to write. But I think we're in a time where if you're not thinking of the world in that sort of way, then the really great story that you can find within it sometimes gets lost. Sometimes, for me, when I'm writing a story, I like to think of it as, let me write history for the world first. I want to write maybe a 9th grade social studies class worth of history. Give me enough to really understand just the environment that we are living in. And then sometimes, more times than not, the story that you think you had is not the really great story you realize you have once you're within that environment. And you can sit in that environment, and really none of that takes any sort of money or any sort of expenditure except for your brain power and your time. And the key to me is you're going to build a lot of things that nobody's ever going to see, and that's how you're going to create a really great story.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just the last point on that is, if you're sitting in a room with yourself or me, and I ask you a question about the cashier that's serving me coffee in the world, you should understand how his life would be from a mechanism point of view. Maybe you haven't thought of his specific life, but the mechanism of how he would go about his day within the construct of the world you built is so vastly important to being able to create a Bible that then you can talk about holistically.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. And you know, by doing that, what you're doing is you're creating your property. You're creating things that you didn't know you were creating by doing that. And you know what I mean? And then when you sit back and you look at this world you've created and you think about the day that the cashier had, or a day in the life of the cashier, you've just created what's potentially an offshoot into a universe, into a full intellectual property, into something that could be the downloadable mobile game based around the cashier in your world, right?
100%.
So, yeah, sorry.
No. We're on. I mean, when you think of things like that, that's how you get 8 iterations of Star Trek and 12 iterations of Star Wars on screen, let alone the hundreds on pages. I mean, for me, it's sometimes the story that about the cashier is just so fascinating, right? Because it's just like, how did that guy work in that world? So yeah, for me, if I'm talking to a bunch of creators, always write your ending first, period. Like that, anyone that tries to write front to back, you're gonna fail. And if you don't, I want to meet you, because it is so much easier to mend the wires than to fabricate them from nowhere.
That's right. That's a really good analogy. I never heard anybody put it like that. That's genius. That's good fucking advice right there.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no. It's I got enamored by it because I not to get too much on the fantasy side, but as a kid, I was fascinated with Harry Potter. I thought it was, for me, what caught me was how she had more SAT words than any other book in it, but it was a 6th grade reading level, so it was higher caliber English made for younger people. I thought that was the genius behind it. And then when I started deep diving into the series, I realized that she wrote chapter 37 of book 7 first. And then she came back and wrote the whole series. And I was like, that's how you do it. So before I did any of my own research or anything, that was like kind of the tadpole that I had seen. And I realized that when you're thinking about story, it's really about how do you want it to conclude, because then you know how you can create Easter eggs and different motifs and nothing. I'm never more of a sucker than I am for really great Easter eggs. That to me is the best part of any story. When you find something in a movie, a script, a book that you only caught because you went back and rewatched it, and it doesn't affect the story positively or negatively, but you see that creativity that the creator put in there, that second or third time that you have more bandwidth to kind of explore the other things happening, not just the main story. That's the best part. And you can't make those without knowing the full story, without having that history, and et cetera, et cetera.
Anybody who knows me should by now have figured out why Matt and I hit it off so fucking fast. Yeah, man, this is unbelievable. I love everything you're saying. You know, for me personally, hang on, fucking Joe's here. He wants me to tell everybody that they're listening to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with me, your host, George C. Romero, my ever-present and faithful producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely. And right now we're speaking with Matt Medney, CEO of Heavy Metal Magazine, and brand new partner to Romero Pictures and the Indie Brigade. So we're talking about some very, very cool shit right now. We're talking about the creative process, and Matt has some amazing shit to say. You know, for me, when I start writing, a lot of times on my first draft, sometimes with the story, I'll know the end first and I'll write that. But I never start at the front, ever. I've never started a script in the beginning. More times than not, I'll write a scene that I don't even know where it's going to be in the fucking script. You know what I mean? And I'll write a scene in that coffee shop, and then I'll follow that cashier right around the coffee shop for a few minutes until my world starts growing from there. And then what happens inevitably, then I do get to my ending from that. And then that's when I start kind of working around. So that's just the way I kind of look at things, especially if sometimes it's like starting a lawnmower, you know, it doesn't start on the first pull. So you got to figure out, you know, something.
You know it works, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get it revved.
Yeah. So, and you know, for me, it's no matter where you got to start or what you got to do to get that engine started. But I think that what Matt has just said is probably one of the best pieces of advice for especially people starting out trying to figure out how to get started. Don't worry about getting started. Maybe start with how it ends, and give that a shot and see how that works for you. This is fucking amazing. So, well, listen, what else do you want to tell people? It's up to you how much you want to tell them about what's going on with you and me and Heavy Metal and Romero Pictures and the Indie Brigade. So I'll let you steer that ship. We can end and stop talking now.
think another thing that people should know is that probably starting with this episode, the video download will be available on Heavy Metal's YouTube weekly, which is really exciting. We're going to be sharing this with the community there, so I'm pretty excited about that myself. I think without giving away too many details, I will just say that Heavy Metal has a zombie character in the movie, Nelson, and Heavy Metal's been looking at revamping that, and I think I'm talking to the zombie overlord right now. So I think our listeners and watchers can probably put 2 and 2 together as to what's gonna go down there.
We'll wait a little while to actually spell it out.
I mean, I think that people listening and watching should know that Nelson, love that. I think people watching should know that we're looking to really rising tide lifts all ships with all IP across both brands, seeing how we can take properties that you've been working on for a while, cough, cough behind you, and properties that we're talking about new things. And I think it's just exciting.
I can't wait to start rolling out all the actual details and announcements, man. And I can't thank you enough for finding us, reading. I can't thank Joe enough for sending the email that brought us together. And I can't thank you enough for seeing the potential in what we're doing. And you know, as soon as we got on and started talking yesterday, it was like, oh man, this motherfucker gets it. So, you know, I mean, just everything that's happening and moving forward it's one of the most exciting times in the history of Romero Pictures. So
that's pretty exciting. Yeah, no, I'm
honored, man.
I'm super pumped. I mean, I guess from an announcement standpoint, that's probably everything that we should say.
I know, right? Because
Come on.
No, that's it. That's all everybody gets. I think that's plenty for tonight. More soon. The big news is Heavy Metal and Romero Pictures are now doing DEF CON 1. And you probably all figured that it's just going to be the first of many DEF CON conventions. So, and now Indie Brigade will be part of the Heavy Metal family, and Heavy Metal is part of the Indie Brigade family. So this is probably one of the biggest, coolest things I've ever gotten to announce. And truly, man.
Instagram now.
Huh?
It's now. Oh, wait, hold on. It's now officially on our Instagram. I just had our social team put it up.
Boom. There it is. Awesome. We're going to go ahead and put some of that stuff up after this show too. And we got to change over some graphics. I will say I had a hell of a day rebranding everything. Listen, brother. So tomorrow we launch the DEF CON 1. I hope you'll stop in and check it out at some point. And man, I'm just so proud and honored to know you and proud of this partnership. So, you know, I know I know you got shit to do. So go. I will cut you loose. And
no, it's not that easy.
Oh yeah, well we do need you to plug the go full screen and do a DEF CON 1 plug. We do need that.
Tune in tomorrow to see the first ever virtual Comic-Con. Well, more than comic, first ever horror conference online. Heavy Metal and Romero Pictures presents DEF CON.
And where can we find Heavy Metal on the social media platforms also?
At Heavy Metal across all platforms. HeavyMetal.com, at Heavy Metal Instagram. I think Facebook's at Heavy Metal Mag. But if you Google Heavy Metal, we are the first thing that comes up, not the music. So screw you, Ozzy.
Children, don't eat bats.
Awesome. All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Thanks for everything. And I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Brother.
Bye, guys.
All right, so that was a little bit of news. What else you got?
Well, did you get that other video loaded up? I got one more thing I want to talk about before we bring David on.
Well, I said that was a little bit of news. What else you got? Playing it lately, you were supposed to be like, dude, that was friggin'
dude, it's like the biggest. How fucking amazing is that? Like, straight the fuck up. Heavy Metal, Romero Pictures, Indie Brigade. Like, are you kidding me?
I'm going to use the phrase for the second time tonight. You screwed the pooch.
No, I didn't. No, I
Un
didn't.
momento, por favor.
Do you have it? Don't just play it. Let me know before you have it because I got to talk first.
I believe I have it, but I have to interrupt before I have it.
Okay.
So
Standing by. We've got one more very cool thing we want to go over with everybody. But I mean, while Joe's working that out.
no, it's literally going to interrupt for a second is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well, do your thing. I thought you meant you were just going to be rude.
Well, that too, but you know, that's a me thing. And okay, so
All right. So can I intro it now real quick?
I hope I hit that one button. You know what? Don't do that quite yet.
Oh God.
Okay, the pressure. You don't understand the pressure.
While you figure this out. Matt is the new blood of heavy metal. Matt is a bad motherfucker, man. He understands some shit, and we've got some good stuff going. We've got, man, I can't believe the reactions we're getting to this. It's usually bad news. This was so much better.
All I want, man, I was so tempted to say Sammy Hagar last night.
What?
Sammy Hagar did he not sing the song to the movie?
I just wanted to fuck you over a little bit there. Are you ready? Can we show this, or can I talk about it and then we can show it real quick? Because then we.
I think you have to coax me a little now. After that, Jesus Christ, man!
So listen,
put my heart and soul into that Sammy Hagar thing, and
it just kind of floated out there. So listen, so you guys have seen my buddy Issam comment on a lot of these episodes. Issam is an amazing guy. He and his family are a true. There he is, right there. He and his family are a true American hero story. They have bootstrapped up something amazing up in Alaska, and we are proud to announce the very first Romero Pictures Indie Brigade feature-length documentary film. It is called Catch Sitka, and we will be shooting the film this fall in its entirety, but we have put together a little teaser for y'all to show tonight. And if Joe's ready, I'd like to just show that and let everybody see it. Then we can make it public on our YouTube. And then we're going to recap our announcements. And then we're going to bring David Madison up for a minute. And then everybody's going to take a break before David's show at 11.
oh, so now you need me.
I always need you, buddy.
All right, fair enough. Let me see if I don't frig this one up.
Hope there's audio. Very proud of this film. It's going to be an amazing documentary. You guys are going to be blown away by the story of Issam and his family when you see this film. So stay tuned. We're going to be producing this film transparently through the Indie Brigade. We're going to make the entire process available for anybody who follows the brigade, any members of the brigade, to be a part of. And we will be shooting all of the feature this fall up in Alaska on location. So we'll be doing some episodes from up there too. So very cool shit happening. That's all the announcements, but I'm so proud of everything. Like this family has pulled together so much unbelievable stuff when it comes to the Indie Brigade. I mean, good God, look at everything. We've been at this, we're going on 3/4 of a year. We're doing our first feature documentary film under the banner. We're growing exponentially by the week. We've got literally the best podcast audience I've ever seen in terms of engagement. Probably the best podcast producer out there. I mean, probably second to nobody. I would say Joe's about the fucking man. And he puts up with my shit.
And likewise.
Well, yeah, but hey man, that's what it's all about, right? The entire Indie Brigade family, if you're not familiar with all of our shows, we've got 6 of them now. We've got the Wagner Wiles with Lance and Sam. We've got the Nasty Nation with Chuck Daniels, a.k.a. Chuck Nasty. We've got the Indie Brigade proper. We've got the Drone Cav. We've got the End of the Night with David Madison, which is coming up here in about 18 minutes.
I'm slacking. We got to add David's show on here.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, David. I'll get it on there. And then our most amazing graphic designer and designer of the entire brand overhaul for the Romero Pictures proper and the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade, Ian Steyer, a phenomenal artist, a phenomenal writer, and a phenomenal creative. Check it all out if you haven't checked it out yet. And then stay tuned, pay attention, because you're going to be seeing a lot of Issam. You're going to be seeing a lot of the Catch Sitka. I hope so, brother. And now, of course, the big news for us is the legacy brands of heavy metal and Romero Pictures have now come together. And we are working on some very, very cool shit. If you didn't hear everything that Matt was saying because you were sort of still in shock, kind of like we are, go back, watch it again, play it over, and listen to what he said. He gave away some spoilers in there if you paid attention to some of the things that are coming. So Heavy Metal Romero Pictures presents DEF CON 1. Starts tomorrow. We start streaming at 2 o'clock. Our first guest is 2:30. If you are a ticket holder, you will be getting an email tonight about where to go and how to get into the green room so that you could be able to watch it from the green room, and that's where we will bring you up on screen with our guests. What else? If you are a guest, you have received your information already.
Maybe.
Linnea, we're gonna iron out your little technical issue. If you're still watching, we'll iron that out hopefully later tonight. If not, it'll have to be later tonight. Let's see. Other than that, everything else is awesome. Sorry about the technical issue with Mr. Richard Grieco, my friend and brother. You will see him tomorrow night. We'll have that all ironed out too. CW, Dan Yeager, thank you for coming on. Thank you for announcing Killer's Choice Coffee is now the official coffee of Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. That's a big deal.
I expect a mug and about 42 pounds of coffee. I don't know why I picked 42 pounds, but whatever.
It's a good round number. Holly says she'll help Linnea. Awesome. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
I love you to death. You are the best, and I miss the shit out of you. So let's see. What else? Vendors, Sarah Dunn, vendors. Yeah, we've got the vendor tables, the DEF CON 1 vendor tables. All of that stuff will be live tomorrow, and the vendor table area will live forever beyond the DEF CON 1.
Absolutely. Go see the vendors for some really cool crap. I mean, I can spend my wife would kill me, a few grand just on.
Easy.
Right? Easy.
And you know what? If you go to conventions in the real, and I guarantee you we've got vendors you've never seen. If you go to your regular conventions yearly, or whatever, you're going to see all kinds of stuff. It's hitting me up. Site. I got to look up your URL, brother. Put your URL in here, Isam, because that's the other thing that I forgot to talk about with regard to Isam, and I should have not forgotten about.
Oh, yeah.
So Isam is launching as part of what he's built. He's launching. I think he's going to become the Bezos of fresh seafood delivery to your house. He's launching the beta right now. I need to find the URL because all my notes are all the fuck over the place because it's been a crazy night and some shit didn't work out.
Crazy night. It's been a crazy 7 days. Are you kidding me?
I guess you can't blame me for fucking some stuff up.
There it is, right here. We got it.
All right, catchsitkaseafoods.com. There it is. So seriously, this guy, I'm telling you, the story that you're going to see when we make this movie is unbelievable. This guy has done the impossible. Like he's done, being an indie filmmaker's tough, but what this guy has pulled off is unbelievable. And he's now, I'm like out of focus. There we go. And now he's launching catchsitkaseafoods.com. This guy has his own plant. The boats come in. The seafood gets offloaded from the boats directly into his sustainable processing plant and goes straight from there out to your house, out to your front door. Now, this is the beta, so everything's getting off the ground. But go to catchsitkaseafoods.com. Sign up right now. This is the best time to get in. Help him figure out. Help him figure out how it's all going to work out. Be a part of it early. And fucking get in on it. I'm telling you, this guy's going to change the game, man.
I mean, I live on the Treasure Coast of Florida, and we have access to seafood here. But watching that trailer, it was just like,
right? Right?
I was drooling a little. It was just like, damn. Wasn't some pretty fish.
I'm telling you, the stuff that I've seen that this guy has pulled out of the water up there, man, is unbelievable. I mean, fish that are like 180 pounds. Yeah. So seriously, get involved with it. CatchSitkaSeafoods.com. Incidentally, Catch Sitka Seafoods and Isam. We're going to be talking about some other very cool stuff he's going to be bringing to the Indie Brigade, and you're going to be seeing a lot of him and a lot of that project. So you need to go over to his website, get registered for it now, get in on it now, and get all the good shit going fast. So again, Catch Sitka, fucking good man, good friend. Boom. I think that's it. I think we've covered it. I think it's time to bring David up just for maybe 2 minutes.
2?
Yeah. Well, you need time between shows, right? So let's bring him up to just bumper his show. And Alaskan Wild, baby.
The abuse I take here, let me tell you.
David Madison.
Hello, gentlemen.
My friend, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good.
Riding freaking high.
First of all, I am extremely thrilled that Joe is sitting in the producer's chair. I don't have to deal with Joe Cat tonight.
Yeah, Joe Cat was actually fired.
Oh.
Yeah, it was actually Heavy Metal's first move.
Well, the guy was a real pussy. By the way, George and Joe, congratulations with the big announcement. That is awesome.
Thank you, David.
Congratulations on DEF CON 1. I'm super proud of how well it's coming out. Awesome. Good job.
Thank you very much.
And
thank you for doing some panels on that.
Absolutely. Whatever you guys need, I'll be more than happy to accommodate you guys with whatever you need.
David will be there with Joe Castro and with Terry as of now. And then we're just going to wing it because, as everybody sees, there's always some glitches with this live stuff. So, but David, I'm really proud that you're part of the family, and now hopefully you're starting to see the bigger picture come together from some of the stuff from some of our earlier conversations. So,
no, but absolutely, and from day one, I just wanted to be a part of this because I like you guys, and if it was always just the three of us, that would be more than enough for me.
Back at you, man.
But to see that, all these amazing successes, I'm extremely proud and extremely happy and honored to be a part of Romero Pictures Brigade. But with that being said, George, tonight we have a living legend coming on the end of the night.
I know you do.
And it's very, very rare that a director of this magnitude even does a talk show. So if you have any passion for filmmaking, or anything to do with film, tune in tonight, because John McNaughton literally is a walking encyclopedia of film and filmmaking.
Yes, he is. And I'm going to be glued to your episode tonight. So that's going to be very exciting. So
yes, I sure as hell hope so.
Yeah. Listen, I can't thank you enough again, man. It means the world to me that you're here. I just love you. And I love all the positivity you've been spreading on social media through all this quarantine stuff too, man.
It's actually kind of funny, George. Today, my county, Pike County in Pennsylvania, we're actually on lockdown, where if I go out to do anything other than to get, food, I could be arrested. So next week's episode will be you and Joe doing a GoFundMe to get me out of jail.
Well, first of all, if you ever get put in jail, we're not going to get you out through traditional methods.
Oh, okay. It works for me. Because the scary part is I probably won't be arrested for a traditional thing.
No, but the brigade will show up for an old-fashioned jailbreak.
There you go, like they stormed Area 51.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Except with trucks and ropes, and we'll pull the bars off the wall. Listen, brother, I'm gonna wrap this up here, and because Joe's gonna need a couple of minutes before your show, so I wanted to thank you for coming on and giving us a little preview of what's coming up, and tell you how much it means to me that you're here, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George, and as always, thank you for letting me play in your sandbox.
Oh, come on, man. It's our sandbox, all of ours. So let's just kick ass and keep going.
I'll see everybody at 11.
See ya. Joe's being awkward now.
This was my time to go take a whiz.
This is like when you're standing at the elevator and you say goodbye to somebody after a meeting and you hit that button and then you realize you're both going to wait for the elevator.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Great meeting. Good to see you. See you.
Good to see you. Now, nobody actually wants to touch the elevator button. So it's kind of like you're both standing there for hours and hours. The first one has the balls to actually touch the virus-infected button.
But whoever touches it then is not allowed in the elevator.
There you go. Yeah, one at a time. It's actually scary, George. At the stores by my house, they have on the ground tape marks that show you what 6 feet apart from each other is.
Really?
Yeah. Did you ever think we were going to live in anything like this?
No. I will say I went to Costco earlier today, and I had to use the restroom, which is fine. There's no doors, there's none of that stuff, and you wash your hands and everything. But as I'm washing my hands and ready to walk out, there's this little, anybody who's been to a Costco knows there's a hallway that goes back and it splits off, and the ladies goes that way and the men's is this way. And I come out and there's some lady standing in that communal hallway hacking up a lung. And all I can think about is I got to walk through it.
It's funny. Like if somebody sneezes in Toledo now, I'm upset.
Yeah.
It's strange because where I live, there are a lot of people who come up who have weekend houses in the Poconos who live in New York City.
Yeah.
And they're actually stopping people who come from New York City from coming into the community. Think about that for a minute. It's kind of horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, we've seen how many pandemics, right, in our lives. This is a crazy time. It's a very crazy time. The public reaction, the panic, all of the other stuff, not knowing what to believe or from where to believe it. It's nuts watching what's happening and watching. And I never thought that the end of the world was going to come down to an argument over toilet paper.
There you go.
Ever. And I thought it would have been over something else.
I tell you, the best sales pitch for any of my films that I ever did was a signed piece of toilet paper for everybody who purchased Mr. Hush. It was the greatest decision because it's the hottest commodity.
Speaking of Mr. Hush, there he is.
There you go.
All right, David. Go take your 5 before your show. Thank
I'll
you.
see everybody in a little bit.
See you in a few.
Okay, since we're dipping him out, you have something to say?
I do have something to say. I just want everybody to tune into DEF CON 1 tomorrow. I want to thank everybody so much from the bottom of my heart for being part of what we're building here, which is Romero Pictures and Heavy Metal's Indie Brigade. Welcome to it. 5.0, right? Are you ready for the sign out? All right, everybody. As always, fuck off till next time. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
Well, we're going to join a minute early because the program doesn't like brand switching for some reason. We got the end of the night up there, though.
There
That's
you go.
that works.
Hey, Joe.
Hey,
Are we
David.
actually on the air?
Yeah, we're live.
Wow.
Are you camera ready?
I don't know. Do I look like shit?
I don't know. How's your breath?
It's the cure to the coronavirus, actually.
Nice.
That's how potent it is. So I want to tell you, Joe, one of the horrific side effects of this whole being quarantined thing, and I'm not going to talk about this all night. I promise everybody I'll get to things that are fun and exciting, or at least what I think is, which is probably nothing that you guys are going to agree with. I've become addicted because every night starting at 11, the Waltons start. And the Waltons play from 11 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning. And for some bizarre reason, for the first time in my life, I'm addicted to the Waltons.
Oh, please do share.
What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, not Little House on the Prairie, not Flipper. It's the Waltons.
Well, who doesn't love Little House on the Prairie? And I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great segue. And I'm going to go right into this, and I'll get back to the Waltons in a minute. If you remember last week's episode, or 2 weeks ago, I had showed everybody one of the very first records that were ever printed, a blue amberol that Thomas Edison himself appears on. It was because we had the drummer from Evanescence on Joe's show earlier, so I thought it'd be cool to do something to show something that was a part of American history as far as music. So bizarre that you should bring up Little House on the Prairie. We didn't discuss this earlier. It was just by chance. But another cool thing I wanted to share with our audience is this book. This book is a book of proper synonyms. It's a hard word for me to say because I'm old and my teeth might fall out. But it was copyright 1886. Okay? I don't know if you guys could see this book very well. I think it says proper synonyms. But what makes this book very, very cool is that about 4 or 5 years ago, my wife knows I'm a really, really big fan of Little House on the Prairie. I know I should be ashamed. I should be drawn and quartered, but I am actually a big fan of Little House on the Prairie. I don't know why. I grew up with it. It's sad. It's pathetic. Forgive me. I make horror movies and I like Little House on the Prairie. I'm that guy. So, but what makes this particular book of synonyms so cool is that Laura Ingalls Wilder, who is the main character on the show, in real life was a famous author who wrote all the Little House on the Prairie books that later became the Little House on the Prairie episodes. And this right here was a synonym book that belonged to Laura Ingalls Wilder herself.
This truly wasn't planned whatsoever.
Isn't that kind of amazing that you brought that up?
It is.
And it's so cool because it's like you could buy at the back they had where you could purchase I don't even know what the hell that is. It kind of looks like a old sewing machine.
So is it like a Sears catalog?
No, it's proper. Look how little the writing is. It's proper synonyms because she was a writer. She had books like this to help her in her writing. And it says it in pencil in the front, Laura Ingalls Wilder, 1886. It's very faint. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It just says Laura Ingalls Wilder, 1886. And this was her book. So how cool is that? Like the real Laura Ingalls.
That is amazing.
So there you go. Your bit of useless information for tonight.
We got a few people shouting out. I think you may know this young lady.
I know that young lady. Libby, I am dying to get my hands on the Blu-ray of the great film Darkness Waits that I was honored and humbled. Thank you. That I was honored and humbled to be a part of with the great Scott Schaffo of Clerks fame. But I can't get into my mailroom. It's closed. So in Pennsylvania, when you live up in the middle of nowhere on top of a hill, you have to drive. I literally drive for almost 25 minutes to get to a mailroom to pick up my mail. But there's two sections. There's a section for you to get packages, and there's a section for you to get your paper mail, like your bills and such. And the part that has the paper mail, like your bills and such, is open, but the part that delivers packages is closed. So I can't go get my Blu-rays. I'm really bummed. I want to see, Scott Schiaffo's amazing performance, Jim Crutt's amazing performance, Conrad Brooks' very last amazing performance, and my mediocre performance. Have you seen that movie yet, Joe?
I have.
What'd you think of my performance? It was extremely mediocre, right?
It was kind of mediocre.
Okay, that's very kind of you to say.
No, actually, I dig the movie, and I
the movie's great. I'm mediocre.
have watched the one prior to that too, and I have very high. I'm just flabbergasted right now with the whole Little House on the Prairie book And you drinking out of little bottles now.
Yeah, it's just ginger ale.
Oh, okay.
Once you get past 40, like ginger ale is like becomes your meth.
Yeah, I kind of know. I drink diet ginger ale constantly. Thank you. It helps settle the gut.
I'm glad you said that because I had to make sure this was diet. So everybody who watched our show 2 weeks ago saw Brad Laree, who played Michael Myers and Stryker on X-Men. He didn't seem well. He was breathing heavily and just really didn't seem well. I reached out to him to make sure that Brad was okay. He did have like a flu or something, but thank gosh he did not have the coronavirus because he had just got back from England, and he's doing well. So it was great to see Brad up and running again, and he says hello to everybody.
Excellent. Very glad to hear that. I mean, it was still a great interview. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, a little concerning.
We could have used closed captioning because he's like, and I was like, Brad, please. I mean, it would make great TV/radio, whatever this is, for him to keel over and croak in the middle of our episode. But luckily for both us and Brad, that did not happen.
Yes.
I love Brad dearly, so he knows I'm kidding, and he's doing much better.
Glad to hear it. I'm assuming he'll be joining you again someday.
At somewhere, at a Burger King maybe.
Well, you can't get inside right now, though. It's
I hope that changes sometime while I'm still alive. I hope this quarantine isn't for like eternity.
Yes, it's not the same, going to a restaurant and getting your food handed to you with a bottle of beer.
Exactly. So tell me,
atmosphere.
What are you doing during this whole DEF CON show?
What am I doing? I am actually the one broadcasting both days for 8 hours.
Wow. You're like the behind the scenes guy.
Behind the scenes guy, in front of the scenes guy, a little bit of both, but yes, it's going to be 8 to 10 hours both days that I'm going to be either behind the curtain or in front of it and controlling. It's scary, man. It's not a.
If heavy metal didn't fire producer cat or whatever, what do you call him? Joe Cat. You could go to sleep right now,
right?
And Joe Cat could have done your job.
Damn it, heavy metal!
Only one extra day of Joe Cat services, and everything would have been fine.
Phenomenal panel this weekend, and guests. It's just amazing what we were all able to do as a team to get these people together.
You want to hear something amazing?
I do. I really do.
One of your earlier guests this evening, Thomas J. Churchill.
I know this like whole 6 degrees of separation, Kevin.
It's not even 6 degrees,
Hush, man. Or
it's not even that. Mr. Hush is like one of our recent projects. Me and Church actually know each other since we're like 10 or maybe 9 years old. Well, how old are you when you start 6th grade?
I'm just as clueless as you are right now.
I guess you're 5 when you start, so maybe 10. Okay, 10 or 11. Church and I know each other for a long time.
All right, I'm going to go over some of the comments that I neglected to.
Oh, okay.
So William's a giant Walton fan also. And
way to go, William. Who's cooler than Pa and Mr. Edwards? I mean, like when business needed to be taken care of, Pa and Mr. Edwards kicked ass. Let's be honest.
And we got Libby. We love Libby. And Ron Purdy, first time.
Hey, Ron, how are you, pal?
That works. And Darkness Waits. Sorry.
That's the third part of the trilogy. You just ruined it, Joe. Darkness Wakes.
Oh man,
it's like it waited. It did its business. Takes a nap, and now it wakes again.
I mean, you really got to understand sleep deprivation is a thing, and planning a con with George and doing this stuff.
Hey, Krista.
Krista's awesome.
You know, it's Krista. when Church and I, we both worked on each other's films. And when Church did Emerging Past, a great film, he's a very talented writer and director. I helped him cast Emerging Past. And my dear friend Brooke McCarter, who was one of the Lost Boys, who is sadly no longer with us, I reached out to him and asked him if he would like to be one of the lead characters in Church's movie Emerging Past. And at the time, Brooke was working with Krista on an H.G. Lewis film. So it was awesome because Brooke asked me, "Hey, we have I have this great actress named Krista. Would you guys be interested in auditioning her for something?" And Church loved her, and she ultimately wound up as the lead in Emerging Past in Church's first film. So it's like the circle of life. It's pretty awesome.
She is such a cool lady. He's a great guy.
And she's a great actress.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm catching a bunch of crap for not saying darkness properly. Sorry, guys. Holy cow, really? Damn it, Joe. All right. Well, your guest is here. So
okay. So just let me take a sip before this, because believe it or not, Joe, when I talk to somebody who's this iconic, this legendary, this great of a filmmaker, I get nervous myself. So let me take a sip of ginger ale. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a filmmaker that his work it speaks for itself. He's an icon. He's a legend. He directed Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. He directed Mad Dog and Glory and Wild Things and numerous other pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John McNaughton. Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Strange times, but I'm fine.
Is it crazy out in Chicago?
It's crazy. I don't know if it's the right word, because I messed up my knee now a couple months ago, and so I've been going through physical therapy and junk, and now I can't go to the gym, so I'm taking walks every day. And when I wouldn't call it crazy when there's nobody on the street. I don't know. There were riots and stuff. Like in the old days, I'd call that crazy. But it's pretty. The only people I see are people walking their dogs. Very few cars. I live in the city. I'm a city boy, and it's very odd. It's eerie, strange.
It's funny because I live on an outskirt of New York City, and we get the New York City news as our local news every night. And the backdrop for when they do the weather usually is a live feed from Times Square. And to see Times Square completely empty every night is it's horrifying. It's like we're living in a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, I see, I have friends all over on Facebook. I see, here's Sunset Boulevard. I've spent a lot of time on Sunset Boulevard. Nobody, a friend works at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, and that's in the heart of downtown, very busy area, skyscrapers, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, he's walking to work, he could hear the traffic lights click, which was the first time he'd ever heard that. The thing with Chicago is it's built on a prairie. It's very spread out compared to Manhattan Island, which I love dearly, but it's an island. It's very limited spatially, and people are thrown into close contact with each other. So are they in downtown Chicago. But when you get into as you move out into the neighborhoods, it's still urban, but it's not like Manhattan. So I imagine New York is getting hit the worst. But another former home of mine, in a city I love dearly, New Orleans, I guess, is the real epicenter right now. And they think it's because of Mardi Gras. They, by the time they did Mardi Gras, the virus was already spreading, but nobody knew it. So they're doing poorly there. So Chicago, I just heard today, like 2 days ago, I heard, well, Chicago compared to New York, it's like nothing. But just today, it kind of turned a corner, and it's starting to pick up cases of infection.
Wow, it's horrifying. Let's get to the fun stuff.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question as a director. nowhere nearly even. You have more talent in your pinky finger than I have in my entire body. But with that being said, there's a lot of filmmakers who watch this program. And what do you think is the most important element of being a filmmaker or a film director?
Well, I always say my father, the first big word my father taught me when I was a little guy was perseverance. And I didn't know what it meant. I was a little guy. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, stick-to-itiveness. Whatever you undertake to do, you stick to it. And if you're going, there is no easy path. You can't be an apprentice director. People think that being an assistant director is a path to being a director. It's not. It's two different skills entirely. There was a book that was published years ago, I think, called How We Got Started, and they interviewed like 20 directors or 25, I don't remember, and I was one of them. And when I got the book, my copy of the book, I went and read it, and every story is different. Every person who was in that book, their story of the path to becoming a director was entirely different. There's no set way to get there. So I would recommend and what's much easier to do today than it was when I started, is to make your own films, because, for very little money now, with a digital camera and home editing setup, you can make films. I'm teaching now at the Harold Ramis Film School at Second City here in Chicago. And it's a 1-year intensive program. So it's people that have already been through undergraduate college for the most part. And they come and they enroll in this 1-year program. They get thrown in with 15 students total. And they make a short film. You have to make a short film. That's why you're there. And, it's pretty interesting to watch what, at the end of this year, we go and see what they've done, and there's some really nice work being done, but it's just like, you got to go out there and do it, and take your lumps and make your mistakes. But I will say these days it's the equipment, and the cost is greatly reduced from when you had to buy film and process film, and editing equipment was not available on your laptop because there was no laptops. So, you had to have editing equipment, and usually that was part of a school program. So it's different now. It's technically easier to make a film, but that doesn't mean it's easier to come up with a good idea and actually execute it. So, but make a film and show it to your friends. If nobody else, but again, online, you put it on YouTube, you put it, you can get it seen, even if by a small amount, and then you make another film. And remember what I tell the students, 90% of this business is failure. You're just going to fail a lot, and don't let it slow you down. That's just part of the deal.
I think that the most important thing as an indie filmmaker is when you start a project, the very most important thing before you even remotely think about shooting a film is to make sure that you have something on paper that is worthy of shooting. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're a kid and you got a camera, you can go out and shoot stuff and see what you can do with it. But yeah, the idea is, to me, it's like, if people ask me what are you? I'm a storyteller. And I think stories are how, people don't realize how important stories are to human beings. That's how we understand how we fit into the big picture of life on Earth. By stories tell us how life works and where we fit. And stories are incredibly important to human beings. And if you have a good story, even if you're not a genius technical filmmaker, that's the most important thing. You have to have a story to start with. And it was very interesting because there are people who are wonderfully adept technically and don't have anything to say. But I was just reading a cool. There was somebody who had interviewed the great John Ford, And there was a picture of John Ford and Jean Renoir, who was the son of the painter Renoir and a great filmmaker in his own right. And he came from France to the United States and worked in Hollywood for a while. And he and John Ford became friends. And Renoir was talking to this person who wrote this Facebook post. And he said, yeah, Renoir said, well, when I met John Ford, it was very important. He taught me all about not moving the camera. Which is the exact opposite that everyone will tell you these, you got to move the camera. And I just happened to be watching the other night the movie about John Ford made about Wyatt Earp, My Darling Clementine, with Henry Fonda and Victor Mature. And he rarely moved the camera, but he set that camera down in the absolute perfect place. And each frame was just a genius composition that told the story, and it made me realize that you don't need to move the camera that much if you put it in the right place. So if you got a story to tell, you don't have to be flashy. You don't have to just put the camera down and let the actors perform the what's been written for them and photograph the story.
It's funny because a lot of the criticisms I get from the films I make is that I like to set the camera as if you're watching a stage performance and then let the writing and the acting tell the story. But sadly, in 2020, it doesn't seem to be the way that people like films.
Well, that's a hard sell these days, but but you don't have to move the camera all the time. I love handheld camera work. I hate shaky cam, but I mean these days, there's so many devices you can get that you can. I love the camera that's completely fluid. You can go wherever it wants, but I don't like to see it shake. I like to see it go smoothly. I used to work with a cinematographer named Jean de Zaganzac, and he was French born, but he grew up in the United States. And I met him in graduate school. I made it through one semester, and he wound up being the cinematographer on the show Homicide. He was one of, I remember I hired him to shoot a little thing I did for HBO that Sam Fuller wrote for me, the great Sam Fuller. And I was with a couple of the executives from HBO, and we were watching a shot being rehearsed, and we were looking at the monitor, but you couldn't see the camera. We were around a corner, and there was this long moving shot. And after we rehearsed it a few times and we're ready to shoot, I looked at the executives. I said, "That's handheld." And they looked at me. They go, "No, it isn't." I go, "Step out and around and go look." Jean de Zaganzac handheld, but you didn't know unless you were standing there. Now he's one of the top episodic directors in television. But I love handheld camera. I love a camera that can move like, this anonymous eye that can go anywhere. But like I say, I hate shaky cam. If you're going to move, I love a completely mobile camera, but I love it. It needs to be fluid for me, not shaky.
I think the only time that shaky cam worked was in the Blair Witch Project, because it was supposed to be horrified teens in the woods holding camcorders. But that started, I think, that whole shaky camera trend, and it was something that just didn't work in other films.
It became a gimmick, and the cinematographers were shaking the camera when they didn't have to. They could have, you may be hand holding, but it doesn't have to shake. Like I say, if you watch Jean de Zaganzac's work, I shot a movie called Normal Life with the late Luke Perry and Ashley Judd, and Jean shot it for me. And a good deal of that show is handheld, 35 millimeter, which is, with a 1,000-foot magazine. That skinny Frenchman could, he'd work till he fell over. But if you didn't know it, you wouldn't know it. The camera was always moving, not always moving when it had to, but fluid. It didn't shake.
Let me ask you something. Do you think a brilliant film like My Dinner with Andre would be a hit with contemporary audiences with the way that was shot?
Well, it's impossible to say. I kind of don't like to hear if you're online, this film would never be made today. Well, so what? It was made when it was made, and it got made, and it was made, and it belonged in that time, and now it's a different time. So perhaps it wouldn't be made today. Perhaps it would. It doesn't matter to me because it was made in the time it was meant to be made, and it exists. And if you want to see it, you can watch it. So a lot of films wouldn't be made today, but they were made. So there are films that are being made today that won't be. It was very interesting. I don't know if you know who Mitch Davis is, but he runs the Fantasia Fest in Montreal. He's a really cool guy, and it's a great, great festival, genre festival, one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the world. I'm not sure, genre festivals. And I saw a Facebook post from him a day or two ago, and he watches a lot of movies because he's got to pick the selections for the festival. So he watches a tremendous amount of movies. And he was saying that after, with the coronavirus quarantine that's all over US and Canada and the world, that he's just got through watching a new batch of films. And he said, even films that were made, that the post-production was finished last week, look strangely dated in the light of what's just happened. The world has changed. And my opinion is eventually they'll come up with a vaccine, and eventually it'll calm down, and maybe there'll be, in a couple of years, there'll be another pandemic of some sort, but this one will eventually end because they will come up with a virus, but the world will not return to the way it was. The world has changed in ways we have no idea, you could just feel it. The isolation, people, it'll take, it was like after 9/11, very interesting that I found that Hollywood made very few films about 9/11. They didn't know how to process it. It was too big. It was too deep. How many films were made about Oliver Stone made one, not that many. And it was a while. The shock was too great. They didn't know how to process it and make a film about it.
And so, I think the sad part about that is that, especially the 9/11 films, I thought none of them really captured the moment at all, or the importance of what happened.
I think the shock was so deep that people couldn't really understand it to make, process it, to turn it into a film story.
Do you think the current climate and what's going on in the world is going to affect movie theaters and people going to movie?
The box office. I mean, I can send later. I'll send you the article that was published in I don't know, it was Variety. I sent it to my cousin. Last week's box office total was 0. Now that's never happened before.
That's amazing.
And it's going to be a long time before people are, when will people return to the movie theaters comfortably? It's, it's plenty, it's just like there was a big thing. It was a nice day in Chicago on Tuesday and the beaches were crowded. Well, the mayor shut that down because it's a dangerous thing. But there's just too many people that aren't going to, there'll be plenty of people that'll go to the movies, but there'll be plenty that won't. It won't be returned to and people will become, and what was it? What film did that was going to be released that they decided not to release, and then but the coronavirus, the fact that they couldn't release it in theater allowed them to void their contract.
Oh, really? Wow.
To void their contract with their exhibitor and thereby go straight to streaming. It's a big film. I can't remember which one.
Was it Wonder Woman?
No, Wonder Woman wasn't released yet. I forget what it was. It was 2 weeks ago, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But it allowed them to void their contract. Consequently, it's you're going to see more and more films are going to go. The exhibitors are not going to be able to get windows anymore. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, simultaneous release. It's going to change. It's going to change. The world.
Well, yeah.
Even going to change drastically.
I'm sorry.
I said the world is going to change drastically. And
even after 9/11, after the dramatic changes of 9/11, there were some things that were positive that happened after 9/11. So let's just cross our fingers and hope that, not everything that happens is, horrifying.
No, I don't think so. But it will be changed.
Absolutely.
Well, I think if they find a vaccine and people, things will. But I don't think it's going to return to exactly the way things were. There's going to be changes caused by this quarantine where people, I'm sitting here in my living room where I spend a lot of time if I'm not working. And I have a full-time assistant that's worked for me for over 20 years. I don't go to the grocery store and I don't go to the cleaners so this, except for the fact that I had to quit going to the gym first thing in the morning, my life hasn't changed that much, but for other people, it has drastically. And when I think everybody's out of work, the motion picture industry is shut down. There's a lot of production in Chicago, a lot of TV, all shut down.
And the truth of the matter is it's going to take a great deal of time for them to get everything up and running again. And that might be a fantastic time. And listen to, all you indie filmmakers out there, there's going to be content needed. And indie filmmakers will be able to whip it out a lot quicker than big studio machines will. So it'll be an amazing opportunity.
I think indies are light on their feet. You're right. You're absolutely right. Right now they're sitting at home figuring out how can we make something, where the studios can't. And I think they're going to be, they've been right on the cusp anyway of, Fox being absorbed by Disney. The other major studios are, haven't been thriving except for Disney, and it'll be interesting to see how they come back on the other side of this, because they're big, like ocean liners. They don't turn around quickly, and they don't start and stop quickly. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
And that and the advent of indie filmmakers being able to stream their films on so many platforms now, so easily. It may be the new way that people watch cinema. So, it's an amazing time for indie filmmakers.
Yeah, we don't know. It'll be very interesting. Somebody will come up with a formula. The films are there. There's people. It's like, how do you monetize? How do you make money? What new form of distribution will some smart person come up with?
Now, John, are you teaching? I assume that the classrooms are closed now. Are you teaching remotely, or are you waiting for? I
wasn't teaching this. I wasn't going to go back till June, and I don't know what's who knows. I just do. I don't know how much you know about Second City, but just about every great comedic talent who's working today passed through Second City. It's an amazing place with an amazing history, and it's in Chicago, so there's this sort of great appreciation for that fact. And when they started, it was like 3 years ago. Harold Ramis left I think of the Quest and his wife and his former producer put together this deal with Second City, where this 1 year intensive program where the youngsters come. And they asked me if I would be interested, and I said, I don't know that I don't think I can teach people to direct, but I can show them how I do it. So that's kind of what we wound up doing. But it was, to me, it's like, I don't know that I'm, necessarily. There's that say, those that can do, those that can
teach.
But I don't think, I think you can be a really, you may not be able to become a great filmmaker, but a great filmmaker doesn't necessarily make a great teacher, where a great teacher is a great teacher. And but what I sort of told them, when I went to college here at a place called Columbia College, they were very good. They had a lot of working professionals as teachers. So we got a sense of, people working in film and television and still photography, and all were actually working professionals. And that was very good training and working with these people. But I felt they really fell down preparing us to walk out the door. My primary interest was still photography, and I had a lot of pretty good photographs, et cetera, et cetera. But I was never, here's how you prepare a portfolio. And here's a list of 100 photographers in town. You're not going to go out and get the account of shooting catalog for Sears straight out of school. Sorry. With street photographs of the South Side of Chicago, which you grew up. If you're going to get a job in the business, you're going to get a job as an assistant to somebody who's making a living as a photographer. And here's a list of 100 working photographers in Chicago and their phone numbers. Call them up. Somebody will be looking for an assistant. No, we weren't taught that. We weren't taught how to prepare a portfolio. It was like, we don't stoop to, So all these kids walk out in the street and wind up working telemarketing jobs because they have no idea how to navigate the real world. And that's what I say. One thing I can teach these kids is what it's really like. What do you do when your star locks herself in the trailer or won't come out? I'll tell you what you do. I've done it. What do you do when the studio you're working for, making a small picture in Los Angeles, it's not paying anybody, and you go, gee, I better go over there and see what's going on. We're shooting nights, so you wake up early in the morning, you only sleep 2 hours, and you go over to their offices on Sunset Boulevard, and you pull into the parking lot, and there's no cars in the parking lot, where there's usually 30 or 40. So you walk in the building, they're gone. There is no studio. There is no money. There's nothing. You're done. What do you do? Well, you ever heard of a completion bond? Most of the people who are teachers here don't know what a completion bond is. I do, because I had informed the completion bond company that the studio disappeared and they were going to have to pay to finish the picture, which we had paid them to ensure that they would do. They weren't happy and I wasn't happy, but so I felt I could bring the kids, they're not kids, but young adults, the students, a knowledge about the business. It's great. The idea that students should have a safe space, and they should, but once they walk out the door, it ain't a safe space anymore. Hollywood is not a safe space, believe me. It's a very dangerous space. So here it's great that you're learning in a safe space, but you're going to leave the safe space, and then here's what it's going to be like.
Yes, one of the hardest lessons I learned was that some of the performers or actors or filmmakers that you idolize are not the people that you hope they are when you get to meet them or work with them.
Some are.
Some are. You are one of the kind.
I worked with some great ones who didn't disappoint me. But I've worked with some of the biggest scoundrels in the business. But that's what, I think I could bring to teach these students is like, here's some real life stories, here's what agents are really interested in. There's a great saying that, they say when artists get together, they talk about money. When agents get together, they talk about art. It's interesting because neither of those groups, know what they're talking about when they're when artists don't know what they're talking about when they talk about money, and agents don't know what they're talking about when they're talking about art. So
George C. Romero, who's the great George Romero's son, who is who runs the show before ours, says completion bonds are so smart but intimidating to a lot of young filmmakers. With your experience with them, could you offer a word or two of encouragement about them to young indie film folks out there?
Well, anyone who invests in independent film that doesn't have a completion bond is an idiot, because so much can go wrong, and does. My second film, The Borrower, was finished by the completion bond company, and then they became the owner of the film, and then they had to shop it around and sell it. But it was interesting when they when they got the call, et cetera, and they came and looked at the books. I had to speak to them, and they said, "You guys were under budget. It's like you didn't, but they stole $250,000 before they skipped town, and we've got to finish. There should have been the money. They had raised the money to make the picture, and it was on deposit somewhere, and they were then, writing checks and paying it out to make the film. But when they skipped town, they took, they had taken $250,000. So the budget was missing $250,000. And so that's what we needed to complete the picture. And that's what the completion bond company had to provide. And they did. And they, of course, weren't happy. But that's the deal you make. It's an insurance policy that that if something goes horribly awry, and I've become, because I've rarely, I don't go over budget and I'm pretty responsible. The completion bond companies tend to like me. And the last movie I made, The Harvest, we had a deal where we had two child actors. That we had four main actors. It was Samantha Morton and Michael Shannon. But Michael Shannon was doing a play on Broadway. So every day at 6:00, he was gone. Get in the car, go home, get ready, go to the theater. So we lost him. And we had, we're working 12-hour days, but we had two children, one who could work 8 hours a day and one who could work 9 hours a day. So that left, 3 hours to shoot Samantha Morton because everyone else was gone. So when the completion bond company came and looked at our schedule, a 28-day schedule, and all those caveats, they said, no, we didn't like this, it didn't look good to us, but then we looked at your background and and so based on your reputation, we're going to give you a bond. And we finished on 28 days. And the bond company, didn't cost them a nickel. And except for my second picture, The Borrower, where they absconded, I've never had a problem, with going over and causing them to have to pony up.
Another thing that young filmmakers also should really pay attention to are the proper insurances. Like, is it E and O or O and E? I always mix those.
I went out, I optioned a book that a friend of mine wrote. He was a cab driver in Chicago and an artist. And it's interesting because it was 5-6 years ago. And now there are, try and sell a project about a cab driver today. There's that's ancient history, cab drivers, it's Lyft and Uber, and et cetera. So, but I did a little sizzle reel of with him. He would, when he drove his cab every night in Chicago, he'd see some crazy stuff, and he would come home and sit at his at 4 a.m. and sit at his drawing table, and he would do little brush ink wash drawings of interesting things that happened. Then he'd write a story about them, and it was really good. So I did a little presentation of him at his drawing board, and we'd have him create the stop motion, create the drawings, and then recite what he'd written. And I put together this group. My PA was Jonathan Demme's son, Brooklyn, and a group of Chicago, a young cinematographer, and a few people, producer, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, I realized, anything happens, it's on me personally. If the camera gets dropped, or if somebody gets injured, or if, anything that happens, I'm on the hook for this. So I think for $200, I got an insurance policy.
Yeah, absolutely. And those insurance policies aren't like the things that break the bank on indie films, but they're definitely something you should look into.
But they'll break your bank if you don't have one, and somebody falls and breaks their arm. It happens so easily. You trip over an electric cord, bang.
I want to ask you one more question before we dive into your films.
Okay.
Who is your favorite directors of all time, and why are they your favorites?
Oh, it's so hard to say. I really, when I was younger, the first time I saw a Martin Scorsese movie was Mean Streets. And it was like, the people I had gone to the movie with were guys I grew up with on the south side of Chicago. And we walked in and we sat and we looked up at the screen, and these guys come on. It was De Niro and Kai Talbot, playing there. And it was like we were looking in a mirror. Those guys were just like us. And Hollywood didn't make films like that about those kinds of people. So I really, Marty Scorsese became my contemporary, the person who I liked, whose films I admired most, who was working in my lifetime at that. And eventually I got to work with him. It was a wonderful, and that's one of the people who did not disappoint me as a human being. at all. He was incredibly kind and generous to me and to everybody. And but as I grow, again, when I was young, I mean, there was a wonderful revival house in Chicago that used to show everything, and they did a weekend. Every weekend they would show two Bergmans, and I went to see. And Bergman was huge for me. And now they're hard to get through. They're so they just claw your guts out. I don't know how much. But again, the other night I was watching John Ford's My Darling Clementine, and it was just so damn great. I mean, everything great. So I could go on and on. There's so many filmmakers I have been inspired by. I mean, 8.5 was on the other night, and it's just so crazy Fellini, those crazy films he made, and there's wonderful Marcello, and I mean, it goes on and on.
That's how I feel about Frank Capra. I think every frame of a Frank Capra film are awesome.
Which one? The Christmas one?
It's a Wonderful Life.
No, different Christmas one.
Oh.
Gary Cooper. He's the baseball player that's going to jump off the building.
I don't recall.
Oh, it's one of my all-time. It just has so much heart. It's Meet John Doe.
Oh, okay.
It's one of my all-time favorite films. I actually stole from it and wrote it years ago. I was hanging out with Bill Murray and talking about something, and he said it was getting to be Christmas time, and he made Scrooged, and he just looked at me at one point. He goes, "Every Christmas I get paid." And I go, I'm going to write a Christmas movie. So I did. Unfortunately, it's not been produced, but Meet John Doe was kind of the inspiration for that. It's just Capra had such a populist sense of love of the average person and their lives, which may not be large and glamorous, but are worthwhile. Capra was wonderful.
Yeah, he could tap into the human condition, I think, better than anybody. Okay, we're up. I love Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Any insight, thoughts that you'd like to share with us about making that movie?
It's been a while since we made Henry. And I've sort of said a lot, pretty much everything that could be said about making it. Looking back, it was I don't know if you saw, Stuart Gordon died.
Right,
2 days,
a couple days ago. Yeah.
Now it may not seem like Stuart Gordon had anything to do with Henry, but he did, because Stuart put together that group, the Organic Theater in Chicago, that did, they created ER.
Mm-hmm.
There was a TV show called ER that was from their show that went with Elliot Gould in it, that went up for one season, but they created that and a lot of other great things. But amongst their group was Dennis Franz and Joey Mantegna and a bunch of people. But amongst the group was Richard Fire, who co-wrote Henry with me, who was one of the actors and artistic. He and Stuart were sort of, kind of co-artistic director. Not really, it was Stuart's, but Richard was kind of standing behind him. And then Tommy Tolles, who played Otis and who's, in Rob Zombie's films and 1,000 movies, wonderful actor. Tommy came out of the Organic Theater. So I was very interesting when I met with the Waleed Ali, who I had been working for in other capacities. He had actually decided he was going to fund a film because we'd been talking about it for a couple of years. I was from the South Side of Chicago. I was from a very working class. I mean, before I was a filmmaker, I was, worked in the steel mills, worked in a tractor factory, did working class jobs. Even though I graduated from college, there were no jobs. So I was kind of from the hood. And making the jump to downtown Chicago and the world of the arts was a difficult cultural leap for me. And I found these guys who were out in the South suburban region, two brothers from Jordan, the Ali brothers, but I wasn't really connected to the creative community in Chicago. I had just come off a life in a traveling carnival when I it's a long story I'm not going to go into, and had come back to Chicago and was out on the South Side working as a bartender in my cousin's bar. And I happened to meet a person who knew the Ali brothers, and I called them up and introduced myself, and I worked for them in a couple of years. But it was a couple of years till we actually made the movie Henry. And as I said, I wasn't connected to the creative community, and I didn't really have people to turn to put this movie together. And so I had met this gentleman, Stephen A. Jones, who was originally from the Coney Island projects in Brooklyn, but came to Chicago to go to school. And he had gone to school at the Illinois Institute of Technology, which is where it had a great design. It was a engineering school, but it had separately, it had this place, the Institute of Design. And it's where a number of the people from the Bauhaus came to Chicago when they escaped Nazi Germany. Mies van der Rohe, the great architect, came to the Illinois Institute of Technology and set up the architecture department. And so a number of the Bauhaus people came to Chicago and set up the Institute of Design, which really became a leading avant-garde design school. And a number of my friends went there, and Steve Jones came from Brooklyn. He went there and he hung out with all my friends who were from the South Side of Chicago, and they all played in rock and roll bands. And when I needed, anyway, I crossed paths with Steve. I needed someone to animate my titles, and he was working as an animator for this other project. And so we hooked up and we started doing little things together. And then when I came to do Henry, he was connected to the people at the Organic Theater because he'd done some video projection stuff for them. So he's the one that introduced me to Richard Fire. And Richard Fire then became the writer. He and I wrote it. And then he's the one that introduced me to, different people in the Chicago creative community. Like Charlie Lieberman, who was working he became the cinematographer. He was shooting commercials. Steve introduced me to Rick Paul and Pat Hart, who became the production designer and costume designer. They worked in theater in Chicago. So, the Ali brothers were in the video distribution business, and they put up the money. But the creative group, a lot of them came from theater, and the actors. Again, Tommy Tolles and Tracy Arnold was with who played Becky, was a new recruit to the Organic company. And then Michael Rooker, our makeup artist, Jeff Siegel, had worked with him in a play, but Michael was working in theater and had gone to the Goodman School. So, there was a wonderful creative community. The theater community here is really, it's as good as anywhere. And it was interesting to read in the Tribute. The Organic Theater did another one of their successes was Mammoth's early Mammoth play, Sexual Perversity in Chicago, which became the movie about Last Night a number of years later. And Mammoth said in the yesterday's Chicago Tribune speaking, they asked him about Stuart Gordon, and he said, Stuart Gordon was theater in Chicago back in those days. And so there was an incredible creative community here in Chicago, in the theater. And the other creative community was advertising. Chicago used to be the number 2 market for producing commercials. It's long since shifted to LA. New York, I don't even know, LA may be number 1, but it was always New York, Chicago. And strangely enough, in LA, they didn't produce a lot of commercials. They made movies and TV shows. Eventually, the agents figured out, well, let's, hire Joel Schumacher to direct a whatever commercial. And they started doing a lot of spots in LA. But you had, really good cinematographers, really good designers, really good people working in commercials. And as I often said, I've never met a person that said, when I was 10, I saw this really great commercial and I knew what I wanted to be. Everybody that's shooting commercials wanted to be making movies, but that's what was here. And you could make a really good living shooting commercials in Chicago. And people were. So Charlie Lieberman was, a top shooter in commercials. And so some of our tech people came out of commercials, and most of our creative people came out of theater.
It's like that Michael Rockefeller didn't do too badly either.
No, he it's very interesting though with Michael. His wife was pregnant when he was doing Henry, but she wouldn't tell him because he was in character, and he was, the character. So I don't know how much fun he could be at home. So he didn't find out till after we wrapped shooting that he was going to be a dad, but he was right on the line for Michael if he was going to be able to continue as an actor. He's going to have to go to work and support the family. And Henry, even though Henry didn't get released for a while, it's that people saw it because it was done for a video distribution company, and the film went out and it was starting to be seen. And then Michael got noticed and cast, and he was cast in 8 Men Out pretty quickly after that. And, boom for Michael.
Well, there's an interesting question here, and I'm assuming they mean with modern technology. David, could you please ask this one?
I think with what's offered today, a movie like Henry wouldn't look or feel the same, is the question that William Russell has.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, we shot film. We shot 16 millimeter. But the style of Henry was very much trying to make it look like it's real life and not a movie. It's like you throw you in with these people. You're in the real place, uncomfortably so. I originally was gonna, I'd made a deal with the gentleman Jean de Zaganzak, the cinematographer who shot Normal Life for me and had shot the TV series Homicide and shot all kinds of documentaries. He was like the great handheld cinematographer, and I knew we would have to move really fast. And then like a week before shooting, Jean had a previous assignment that he'd already, committed to. And usually when your movie schedule gets moved, it gets moved forward in time because the money, but it got moved backwards into our schedule. And so there was no way. And I had to scramble and found Charlie Lieberman. And Charlie Lieberman, we did do dolly shots. We got this thing called a Kostykian dolly, which is this really primitive but effective dolly rig on a piece of plywood with wheelbarrow wheels and et cetera, but it worked. So we did, tracking shots, and we did, but it would have been a different looking film with Jean. It would have been handheld, but we still had a very immediate look. And if it were done today, it would be done digitally, almost certainly, and it might not be so terribly different.
Well, sadly, we don't have a lot of time left, but there's a question I really wanted to ask you. What was it like to work with De Niro, Bill Murray, and was it Uma Thurman? Do I have it right? On Mad Dog and Glory, all on the same set together?
Oh, mostly pretty cool. Any movie with talents that huge, you're going to have some, a headbutt here and there, et cetera, But I got along fine, beautifully with all of them. And it's a time I look back to with great fondness. And Marty Scorsese as our angel, overseeing the whole thing from New York while we were shooting in Chicago. It was a pretty great experience working with that gang. They were very, we had starting with a great script from a great writer, Richard Price. So we rehearsed for 2 weeks, and everyone was very happy to be there, working on a piece of material of that quality. And then we had the great Robbie Mueller as our cinematographer, even though he and I did not particularly care for each other. Many times I've clashed with cinematographers because I have my vision and sometimes they have theirs, and it's going to be mine.
Yeah. You are the
same thing. I always said to, various people on the set, well, I go, well, how do you want to do this? I want to do it this way. And then, well, it'd be better for me if we did it. It's like, well, when you direct your movie, do it the way that's better for you. But on this movie, you're going to do it this way. And Robbie and I didn't always see eye to eye. But he did a fabulous job. And he was one of the greats. But with the actors, I usually almost always get along with the actors. I love to work with actors and actors of that caliber. It's just amazing to sit there and watch them work.
Now, did that lead to Bill Murray being in your film Wild Things?
Oh yeah, we also did one other film together. It's a little scene called "Speaking of Sex" with James Spader and Catherine O'Hara and Lara Flynn Boyle, and Melora Walters. My first and only full-fledged comedy.
Oh, awesome! I have to seek that out. I love James Spader.
I do too. James and I get along exceedingly well. I haven't seen or talked to him for a long time, but I like working with James a lot.
Do you have any projects that are coming up on the horizon?
Yeah, but who knows? Right now, everything's dead in the water. But you know who Flannery O'Connor was, the novelist? She was one of the greatest short story. Her most famous story is called "A Good Man Is Hard to Find," and it's one of the most shocking, darkest things that has ever been written by a human being. And producer Ed Richardson out of Atlanta optioned material and had a screenplay written by, it's a long story, but someone who knew Flannery O'Connor personally, whose family was connected to her, and who wrote the screenplay for Wise Blood, which is the only thing that was ever made from one of her, that John Huston directed. And this guy, Benedict Fitzgerald, wrote that screenplay, and he wrote our screenplay. It's really dark. And it's about a guy who escapes from a mental institution, a killer named the Misfit. And Rooker is assigned to play the Misfit. And it's just an amazing story. And if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see Carney Kill. Is a project, a book I optioned like 30 years ago. Because I was a carny many, many years ago. I love carnival life. And there was this pulp novel published in the 60s called Carney Kill. And it's like a noir murder thriller set in this really weird amusement park. And I've been trying to get it, I've had a script for a long time and trying to get it made. So now I'm working with an artist. We're working on a graphic novel. And I just got an email from the composer I've often worked with, George Clinton. And it's not George Parliament P-Funk George Clinton. It's a guy, George S. Clinton, who scored Wild Things and a bunch of things that I've done, and scored the Austin Powers movies. And he just sent me an email. He wants to write music for it. So, a lot of people with time on their hands right now.
Absolutely.
So I'm working on that. And I have a portfolio of about 8 or 9 projects that I either wrote, co-wrote, or friends wrote that I'm always, I just bought this T-shirt of Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill, the myth of Sisyphus. It pushes the rock up the hill and then it rolls over and then he rolls down and he pushes it up again. And that's sort of what filmmaking is to me, the Sisyphus. You're pushing this big boulder up the hill and probably you're not going to get to the hill. It's going to come loose and roll over you on its way and you're going to have to go back and start over. So.
Well, William Glenn Russell, who is watching us, says, Henry, in my humble opinion, is the greatest independent horror film ever made.
Well, thank you, Mr. Russell.
Well, I will, John, first off, if you the next time you make a picture, if you need somebody to get you your coffee, I'll be more than happy to do that. Anything to be involved with the filmmaker that I admire most in the world. Oh, Joe.
Are we getting the...
Get his coffee.
What? You'll get his coffee?
To get his coffee.
Yeah, sadly, the show it runs till midnight, John, and you and I could probably talk for hours about cinema. But again, I am honored to call you a friend, and thank you very, very, very much for doing my show.
You're welcome.
And you're a fountain of information for filmmakers and for just everybody. You're just a kind and wonderful human being. And thank you. We are honored to have you on the end of the night.
Well, before he leaves,
pardon?
Tell us where we can find. I'm going to let you do your thing also, John. I do apologize for interrupting. I didn't mean to.
No, that's cool. No problem.
let us know where we can find you on social media, follow your projects, and
Facebook. I post photographs on Instagram because, again, I studied still photography, so I will post photographs on Instagram, but I don't publish much information or text. But what I'm working on, and et cetera, you can usually find on Facebook.
okay. Whoop. Wow.
All good?
Yeah, I'm learning to use this camera right now. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. But absolutely, David, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just Scott Schiaffo, who is the star of Clerks, sends you his very best. And
I just liked some post of his today. So
he's a great guy. Great stuff, guys. John's an American Maverick is what he says.
Well, I wouldn't mind being a studio director again one of these days. It's great to be a maverick when you're young, but it's nice to, as one grows older, one tends to become more conservative.
As I said to you the last time we were in person, John, I said you would be a great addition to do a big Marvel movie to bring like intelligence and grandeur.
Since I was a little boy, I have loved the Bizarro world in Superman. I want to do the Bizarro version. Do you know the Bizarro world in Superman?
Yes. The like alternate.
Everything's completely screwed up backwards, and people
fanboying out right now.
So,
well, I know my buddy who went to Queens College with me, John Favreau, is probably watching this show now. So, John, your director for your next big Marvel picture is here. Superman, a brilliant filmmaker.
Superman is kind of, what is left to do? The Bizarro world where everything's, it would be so much fun. And I think it's so, just as a kid, I read Superman comics, and all of a sudden the first Bizarro episode, I was just floored. It was so crazy. I think it would be so much fun to do a Superman with the Bizarro world in it.
That's what the world needs now.
Because we're in the Bizarro world.
I have my background blacked out right now because it's Superman, and oh my god, I'm really geeking out right now.
Even better than a Nick Cage, Tim Burton Superman, right, Joe?
Or Kevin Smith, and
yeah,
absolutely. But wow, please do it.
Well, I don't hear the phone ringing.
We're getting on that. We're working on it.
Well, maybe everything will change when everything, like I say, sooner or later they're going to have a vaccine, and sooner or later life will get back to some form of normalcy. We'll see what happens. I think it's really going to be an interesting time because everything will have changed, and I think that old studio system is going to be, on the ropes. Whereas, like I say, the indies are fast on their feet, and quick to adapt.
It's actually kind of sad because last Thursday I was going to announce my first big theatrical release that was coming out in June for my new film Wit's End, but it's now been shelved.
South by Southwest, all those poor people that got their films, pulled their films together, and they were accepted, and they were going to everybody at all the festivals that were going to premiere their films, they aren't. And now what? They got to sell them. They got to recoup. It's tough.
I'm going to try and hopefully
a lot of people
wait
got
out.
Their hearts broken.
I'm hopefully going to try and wait out the pandemic, and maybe by the fall they'll have the theaters and releases all back in line.
Hopefully so. Something, it'll be interesting to see how things change.
Well, again, thank you, John. You're awesome. And be well and be safe. And I will talk to you soon.
All right.
I'd love to have you on again someday in the future, John.
Cool. Thank you.
Good night, Mr. McNaughton.
Good evening.
Wow.
There you go. Royalty. Film royalty.
You think?
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. Was it a good show?
Well, obviously.
Okay, good. No, it's very difficult. I mean, he's the type of guest that turns down people like Jimmy Kimmel and big, because he doesn't want to do these type of things. He does them for people he knows and friends and stuff. And he was just on our show. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to have somebody very similar. So we're all very exciting things going on here at the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade.
I'm confused. Next week?
No, within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was next week.
No, we have somebody we have an icon next week too.
Well, I mean, you have icons regardless, but
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. I can't mention. All right. So how you feeling right now?
I feel smarter, and being locked up in the house like we all are, to be able to sit and have a conversation with, thank you, Sean, to sit back and have a conversation with somebody as brilliant as John is, just is humbling. It's humbling. And if you're an indie filmmaker, if you didn't pick up tons of stuff, I mean, he came on at 11:10. He just went off at 12:10. In 1 hour, I was able to talk to him about essentially only Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. And I got one question in about Mad Dog and Glory because I wanted to know about De Niro and Scorsese. I mean,
that's a great question.
Right. That's how brilliant this guy, is. And there are people who talk and you want to tune them out because what they're saying is fluff or irrelevant. And I don't mean to be mean. There's a lot of people like that. But when a master talks, we should all listen.
All right. But if you don't mention Lance, he's going to have a heart attack. So,
hey, Lance. Thank you, pal. You know what? I love reading those when you put them up. But when you have somebody like John McNaughton who
don't want to interrupt.
I don't want to interrupt. Right.
That's something we do on the Indie Brigade show also. Is just like, we'll show them,
right,
we'll flash them.
Yeah.
And we're not expecting every comment to be read, but
right,
still acknowledging people tuning in by bringing them up.
No, I totally get you. And I love acknowledging everybody who's watching because it's an interactive show. But please understand when you're talking to, let's say, a John McNaughton or John Landis or John Favreau, and they're in the middle of a thought, you don't want to interrupt them because they play on a different ball field than most independent filmmakers do.
Oh, and I also have impeccable timing when they're right about to say something. I pull something up and it's like, so do I do that on purpose?
If you do, it's greatly timed.
Accidentally on purpose. But so can you give us any teasers on the next few weeks, or you just want to let sleep?
Yeah, look at our webpage on Monday and you'll find out.
Oh, okay. And
and look, I'm up in the woods, and I live on top of a mountain in Pennsylvania. And I'm slowly, and as I said earlier, I'm watching nothing but the Waltons now. And I'm slowly turning into Grizzly Adams. I don't remember what his, do you remember what Grizzly Adams' name was in real life?
I don't. I know
Is George around by any chance?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
I was going to say, because I'm sure he could.
Bear.
Yeah. Gentle Ben the Bear.
Yeah. And he.
No, it wasn't Don Adams. Don Adams was Get Smart. Is anybody can help us on this one? Or whatever.
We got a statement from my indie.
Oh.
It's actually a clever statement, and he totally means well by it. So I'm assuming that's a day. But
Dan something. I said, yeah, Dan Fogarty, rather.
Fogarty.
Haggerty.
Haggerty.
Dan Haggerty.
Guy can grow a hell of a beard and hair.
That's his name.
Dan
Haggerty.
There you go.
Thank you, Ron.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not old enough to remember that.
You got shirts that are old enough to remember that, Joe.
Damn it. Fair enough.
By the way, I heard something earlier about somebody having the best hair on these shows and you have the second best hair.
Well, no,
Really?
it was going to be a tie between. Well, you have the best parted hair, I think, but between Richard Grieco and Matt.
The guy always has a do-rag on. How do you know what kind of hair is going on under there?
It's Richard Grieco.
I know, but
It's
okay.
what the hell?
Shave Joe bald. At least he didn't. At least it doesn't say bring back Joe Cat.
All right. Well, I'm going to put an end to this nonsense unless George is going to join us for a second. George,
George, the jungle king of.
opinion on this show. Chime in, because I mean, it's like Hollywood royalty was just on.
Isn't it funny how when you're somebody like John, and you're like, yes, my dear friend Bob came over, and he's talking about like Bob De Niro, and then Marty called me up, and
We had a scotch, and
and he lost my remote control. You know, just like, yeah,
What a show, David.
you didn't even watch it.
I had it on my TV in the other room. I never get to watch it on a TV. It's really cool.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, get to go put it on the TV. What a fucking show, man. That guy has forgotten more about filmmaking than most of us will ever be lucky enough to learn, man.
It's horrifying how smart he is and how sweet he is. And it's funny because he's bringing up SCTV. And for people who don't know, it was Second City TV out of Chicago, and it was really the precursor to Saturday Night Live.
live, exactly.
And every major comedian you could think of at one time, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase,
The Ghostbusters.
Martin, like you name them, they dipped their toe in Second City TV over in Chicago. Harold Ramis is the Ghostbuster who passed away, who I think left the grant that allows John to teach at the university. So it's all very, very cool.
Yeah, it really is. Well, how do you feel about your show, man? What was it like having him on and talking to him in front of everybody?
You know, the geek and the fan in me, the young man, the boy, the teenager, I just look at somebody like him in awe. And I talk to him trying to get out pieces of information that could possibly help me as a filmmaker and as a human being. And I also it's hard because when you achieve things like he has, and yet so humble and so sweet with your time and so unfazed by it, it shows me what I want to be when I'm, at that stage.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, guys like him, he's a class act, and I could just listen to him talk forever. I'm blown away that he was just on the Indie Brigade Network, man. And I'm just so thrilled that you talked to him tonight.
It's funny. When people think of great directors, there are certainly directors with much more highly visible names and much more highly visible. But that's because John, by choice, keeps his visibility low. I mean, his filmography speaks for itself. The people he's worked with speak for itself, and the films that he made speak for themselves. So, Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what a great night! I'm so happy you're here, man.
Thank you for having me.
Thrilled that you have this show, and I look forward to it every week. It's
I'm glad somebody does.
It's honestly, it's so cool to finish, and then just Joe's going to get mad at me because he has to keep working. But we finished the Indie Brigade show, and I get to kick back and like chill out and watch you and watch your show on our network, and it's just rad, man.
Well, George, this is your baby, and thank you for having me. But did you really like the show tonight, or did you find it too talky?
No, that's what the Indie Brigade's all about. I mean, we're about talking about stuff so that our audience can learn, and the fact that we have access to our group of friends who are willing, what I found is that, once I explain kind of the energy of the Indie Brigade and the mission of the Indie Brigade to everybody that I talk to about being on the show, everybody's interested and into it, because we're not like other podcasts. We don't sit around and just, we don't just fan out. We talk about stuff that's hard to talk about for a lot of people in this business. We talk about stuff that a lot of the people who watch would never have access to hear or find out any other way. And the idea of people sitting with you and someone like John McNaughton and talking, I don't even know if anybody watching realizes this, but when you live like in a place like Los Angeles and you're active in the industry, or you live in a place that's sort of a hive for it, you end up overhearing a lot at coffee shops or restaurants or bars, and you see people that you recognize, and a lot of the people that you see and you recognize aren't the movie stars. They're the people that people like us recognize, and we see them and we know what they look like, and we get to overhear them, and that's where we learn more than I could probably ever explain to anybody, how much you learn from having conversations with guys like John. You know what I mean? And that's where the real education comes from. And the fact that you just had him on your show, it's like people get to eavesdrop on a conversation that they wouldn't have access to if it wasn't for the Indie Brigade and you bringing the end of the night to the network, man. So, I'm so proud of it, and I think you're doing a great job, and I think you're fucking killing it.
I also think that a lot of podcasts and television interview shows tend to talk down to viewers. And I think people are a lot smarter than they get credit for. Mm-hmm. So I try to keep the discussion, light, whimsical, but smart at the same time.
Yeah, man. It's
even though I'm the biggest moron on the network.
You are not. You are absolutely not. You're an amazing addition, and I'm proud you're here, man. So
thank you, George.
Killer show tonight. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, we might actually have somebody, interesting on. I don't know.
What? You just had one of the most interesting filmmakers you could have had on.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard. It's very hard to follow up a show like this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Apparently, you're going to make an announcement on Monday. Every Monday, you're going to make an announcement? Is that how it's going?
Well, I send it to you guys, and then you guys put it up on Thursday or something. But
you know what we call that? We're doing away with hashtags now. Everything's a hash brown, so that's just hash brown. Blame Joe.
It's been a very busy couple of weeks, and we apologize.
I totally understand. Trust me, I totally understand.
Hey, what about that heavy metal stuff? Let's just talk about that again real quick. What about that heavy metal stuff, man?
I think cool. It's mind-bogglingly fantastic.
Yeah.
We should have more open communications, because I had something really awesome that I wanted to talk to you about but it would kind of clash. So
listen.
That's me and him on a daily basis.
It has been a insane break between seasons, but let's talk either tonight or anytime. You can hit me up anytime, Dave, if you have anything you ever want to talk to me.
No, I understand.
So listen, phenomenal show tonight. Keep killing it.
Thank you. It was my honor, and thank you everybody who watched it. And next week, hopefully you'll sit back with us for night and enjoy George's show, and then watch my show and just be entertained by our goofy shenanigans.
Yeah, get after it. I'm trying to not smoke as many cigarettes. It's one of these little things from American Spirit.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
David, your closing statement.
You know what? I forgot what it is. Oh. Remember, any man who has friends is rich.